As everyone knows, in this era, Stargate technology is the top priority for interstellar navigation. However, Stargates can only be built in star systems with two suns. Therefore, up until now, one-third of the star systems are still unable to construct Stargates. Zhao Chen opened his eyes dizzily, his head spinning. If he remembered correctly, he had stayed up all night playing games, and he was feeling drowsy as soon as class started today. Curiously, the usually strict grandmother teacher hadn't woken him up yet. Suddenly, Zhao Chen's expression froze. He realized that the entire classroom was wrong. The desks were no longer wood, but made of some pure white special material. A holographic projection screen hovered in front of every student, and the school uniforms they wore looked like uniforms from a sci-fi space opera movie. Zhao Chen reached out to touch the seemingly transparent display screen in front of him. At first, it felt like touching a physical object, but when he applied more force, his entire hand passed right through it. Holy crap! Zhao Chen's eyes widened as he looked around. Where a wall should have been on one side of the classroom, there was now a massive floor-to-ceiling window. Beyond the window lay a view of a brilliant galaxy, the kind of scene one would normally only see in science documentaries. Several electronic paintings hung on the special classroom walls. Some depicted fighter jets, others portrayed warships. But they weren't naval warships. They looked like the interstellar warships from video games. When he looked at the teacher, standing on the podium, Zhao Chen almost fell over in shock. It was a humanoid creature wearing clothes, but its head was hairless, covered instead in vine-like textures, and it had ears shaped like butterfly wings on the sides of its head. That was definitely not a human face. Just as Zhao Chen was wondering if he was dreaming, a flood of memories began to pour into his mind. Interstellar era, Starlight Empire, Galactic Calendar Year 3030, North Star Starship Military Academy, Zhao Chen, Captain Department, 3rd year, student. Zhao Chen's face contorted in pain as he clutched his head. Old Zhao, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? A concerned voice came from beside him. Zhao Chen looked over. It was a male student. The person's information immediately surfaced in Zhao Chen's mind. Li Wei, his good friend and classmate. I'm fine. Probably just stayed up too late last night. Zhao Chen waved his hand, signaling he was okay. He feigned composure and continued with the lesson while his mind began to process his current situation. He had transmigrated into an interstellar era. This was a Starship Military Academy of the Starlight Empire. He was a student here, majoring in the captain department, with hopes of becoming a commander of an interstellar warship in the future. Zhao Chen felt his pocket. There was a small medicine bottle inside. If he remembered correctly, the original owner of this body had committed suicide by poison due to a broken heart. Unexpectedly, this allowed him to transmigrate and become the new owner of this body with the same name. Ding! Super Interstellar Fleet System Binding. Binding complete. Host Zhao Chen. At that moment, a mechanical female voice suddenly echoed in his head. Newcomer gift pack opening. Congratulations on obtaining 100 system credits. Congratulations on obtaining the top starship engineer profession. Congratulations on obtaining 1 technical blueprint for the T3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser. Congratulations on obtaining 1 random chance to draw a special attribute. After a brief daze, Zhao Chen realized this was his cheat as a transmigrator. With a thought from Zhao Chen, a virtual page appeared before his eyes. Host, Zhao Chen. Profession, top starship engineer. Special attribute, empty. Credits, 100. Number of starships, 0. Mission, quarterly mission, unclaimed. Warehouse, T3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser technical blueprint. Zhao Chen scanned the list, seeing the 2 rewards he had just received. Top starship engineer. Zhao Chen raised his hand and used the holographic computer on his desk to look up some information on starship manufacturing. He found that when he saw this knowledge, he understood it instantly and could even apply it to other scenarios. Does this mean I can build starships myself? Zhao Chen thought to himself with pleasant surprise. He looked further down. Credits? Credits. System credits are provided daily based on the number of starships the host owns. Must be starships built from system blueprints. Credits can also be obtained by completing system missions. Credits can be exchanged for items in the system mall. Zhao Chen glanced at the so-called system mall. It contained technical blueprints for starships and various other items, but they were all at the T1 technology level. In this world, technological products were classified as T1, T2, T3, and so on. The same applied to starships. A higher level meant stronger combat power and more advanced technology. Therefore, the T3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser Zhao Chen had received could be considered an extremely precious piece of starship technology. One must realize that a T3-level starship technical blueprint in the Starlight Empire was worth billions or even tens of billions of star coins. Currently, there were no more than 10 types of T3 starships publicly in active service in the Starlight Empire. This was enough to show how precious a T3 starship was. If others knew that Zhao Chen had such a T3 starship technical blueprint in his hands, the entire empire would likely be in an uproar. But Zhao Chen understood the principle that an ordinary man's innocence is no protection against the treasure he carries. He could not reveal this until he had sufficient strength. Unfortunately, Zhao Chen currently lacked the ability to build a T3 starship. According to the knowledge in his memory, building a T3 starship required at least 10 million star coins in raw materials and related construction costs. Zhao Chen still had a long way to go before he could own this starship. As for the quarterly mission displayed on the system interface, it was a mission that would automatically be generated every 3 months, with rewards upon completion. And this was Zhao Chen's first quarterly mission. Zhao Chen claimed it first. Quarterly mission. Own 1 starship, system produced. This difficulty was not small. Besides that, there was one more special thing. That was the special attribute. Zhao Chen clicked on the attribute option, and a box popped up. The host will randomly select one attribute and its execution condition from below. Option 1. The host's fleet can only recruit male soldiers. Gain fleet combat power bonus, voice of encouragement. Option 2. The host's fleet can only recruit female soldiers. Gain fleet luck bonus, eye of insight. Option 3. The host's fleet can only recruit non-humanoid soldiers. Gain fleet loyalty bonus, universal tone. Zhao Chen's face darkened. Is this system trying to stir up trouble? Random selection begins. Before Zhao Chen could think further, a cursor began to move rapidly among the 3 options, like a roulette wheel. Finally, the cursor stopped on option 2. Congratulations, host. You have acquired fleet luck bonus and eye of insight. Please unconditionally enforce the rule that the fleet can only recruit female soldiers. If violated, the above 2 rewards will be revoked, and you will receive unknown punishment. Zhao Chen covered his face. Only recruiting female soldiers. This rule is a bit too much, isn't it? But for some reason, Zhao Chen still felt a tiny bit of anticipation. First, back to the main topic. Since this fact cannot be changed, he would just let nature take its course. Let's first look at the 2 rewards he received. First is fleet luck bonus. As the name suggests, any existence within Zhao Chen and his alliance fleet will receive a certain fleet luck bonus. As for the specific effect, it's unknown, as luck is too mysterious. Second is Eye of Insight. It can be used on any species aboard Zhao Chen's own starship to determine whether the other party harbors hostility or murderous intent towards him. This means that as long as he is on his starship, Zhao Chen is absolutely safe. Classmates, that's all for today's lesson. This semester is almost over, and next semester we will begin practical combat training. Because you're all Starship Captain Department students, you will need to own your own starship by then. This starship can be purchased by yourselves, or it can be exchanged with Academy points. The crew members on the starship can be students from other departments within the Academy, or they can be crew members you hire yourselves, as long as they comply with relevant regulations. The teacher announced this matter and then left the classroom. The matter the teacher announced was about the curriculum for the next semester. every student needed to prepare their own starship. Those with family backing could buy one themselves. Those who were not wealthy could use the academy points accumulated over the past 3 years to exchange for a starship from the academy starship list. Immediately, every student began discussing the starship they were preparing. Let me tell you, my dad has already prepared a T2 class interstellar destroyer for me. It's this year's latest improved model, and it's the best-selling starship in the past decade. Tisk, let me tell you, what is a man's romance? It's massive starships and massive cannons. If you're going to pilot one, you have to pilot an interstellar battleship. That's what you call a man's toy. Your families are well off, but I'm not. I'll just get an interstellar frigate to complete my studies. Listening to the discussions of the surrounding students, Zhao Chen couldn't help but fantasize about his own starship. As a boy who didn't have a dream of traversing the universe when he was young, old Zhao, have you decided what starship to exchange for? You need to prepare quickly. Although there are many exchangeable starships provided by the Academy, if you act late, there won't be any good starships left. What's more, you still need to form a crew. Li Wei leaned over to Zhao Chen. Zhao Chen casually asked, "How are your preparations going?" Li Wei grinned and raised his hand. On his wrist was a thin, watch-like handheld terminal from which a holographic projection displayed a 3D model of a starship. Its appearance was relatively traditional, similar to ancient warships. Several main cannons and missile launchers could be seen on it. A T2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer, currently priced at 4.3 million star coins on the market. My dad ordered it for me, and he even arranged the crew for me, all retired veterans with over 10 years of service. After Li Wei finished speaking, he seemed to recall something. He looked at Zhao Chen with some concern and said, "Old Zhao, that if you really can't find a suitable starship in the Academy's warehouse, I'll ask my dad to help you. It's fine. I already have an idea about the starship. We'll go pick up my starship after dinner." Zhao Chen smiled. Li Wei's family background was good. They were responsible for interstellar trade and were said to be among the top 10 in the Starlight Empire's northern star region. So, it was not surprising that he could produce such a T2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer worth 4 million star coins. After their casual chat, Zhao Chen and Li Wei went to the Academy cafeteria together. On the way, Li Wei saw Zhao Chen looking distracted and assumed he was still thinking about the starship. In fact, Zhao Chen's status was no less than Li Wei's, because Zhao Chen's father passed away early, and Zhao Chen had already inherited a barren title and owned a star system territory. However, the star system territory Zhao Chen owned was extremely resource poor. It was also a single star system, which meant that a Stargate could not be built. If a star system had no Stargate and no special resources, it could basically be labeled as worthless. Zhao Chen's barren title came from his great-grandfather, who was once an Imperial Army fleet commander in the Starlight Empire. He earned military honors and was granted an earl title and a fiefdom. But by the generation of Zhao Chen's grandfather and father, neither of them achieved merits, military honors, sufficient to elevate or consolidate their title, causing it to drop level by level until it became a barren title by Zhao Chen's time. If he did not earn further merits in his hands, his descendants would not be able to inherit the title, and the territory would be reclaimed by the empire. And given Zhao Chen's current situation, it was basically hopeless. It was said that in Zhao Chen's star system, there wasn't even a single T2 class starship. The star system security was maintained by only a few ancient T1 class starships. Fortunately, due to the star system's poverty, no interstellar pirates coveted them. In the past, Li Wei often wanted to help Zhao Chen, but Zhao Chen was strong-willed and never accepted help from others. Old Zhao, let's sit over there." Suddenly, Li Wei put his arm around Zhao Chen's shoulder, tried to make him take a different path, as if intentionally avoiding something. But the person Li Wei didn't want Zhao Chen to see, Zhao Chen had already seen. Jiang Shasha, Zhao Chen's fiancée, theoretically speaking. However, at this moment, Zhao Chen's fiancée, Jiang Shasha, was with a boy. Anyone who knew Jiang Shasha knew that boy was pursuing her. Li Wei covered his face. This was truly an ironic twist of fate. How could they run into this woman everywhere? He knew that Zhao Chen and Jiang Shasha had grown up together, because Jiang Shasha and Zhao Chen were from the same hometown from the same star system. Jiang Shasha's family was a noble family in Zhao Chen's territory, so the two had been engaged since childhood. However, ever since Jiang Shasha and Zhao Chen entered this academy together, everything changed. Because in the academy, there were boys with more prominent statuses than Zhao Chen and boys who were more generous. In comparison, Zhao Chen could only be considered a fallen noble from a rural area. Zhao Chen initially still liked Jiang Shasha very much, but Jiang Shasha's actions hurt Zhao Chen again and again. Zhao Chen even tried to win her back, but he was met with Jiang Shasha's cold and cruel treatment. Li Wei knew that Zhao Chen was heartbroken by this, and several times he couldn't eat. What Li Wei didn't know was that just today, due to emotional distress, Zhao Chen had taken medicine to commit suicide, which led to the current Zhao Chen. The window seat over there is good. Let's sit there. Zhao Chen rejected Li Wei's suggestion and walked straight ahead. To outsiders, Zhao Chen was walking directly towards Jiang Shasha. Jiang Shasha saw Zhao Chen walking straight toward her at that moment. She felt utter disgust in her heart. She hadn't expected this guy to be so stubborn. She had clearly told him last night that they belonged to two different worlds, yet he insisted on talking to her about being childhood sweethearts, hoping she would change her mind. Was he joking? Only after leaving that impoverished star system did she truly learn what a brilliant life looked like. How could she be willing to return to that destitute star system in the future to be some nobody baroness, where her children wouldn't even be able to inherit a title? She would not allow herself to live that kind of life. Not even in her dreams. The boy beside her, on the other hand, was a growth stock she had found. His family background was good. His father was currently a viscount, and it was said he might be promoted to earl in the next few years. When that time came, wouldn't his son be able to inherit the title? Forget it. I'll just find an excuse to reject him in a bit. I already tried to save his face, but since he doesn't know what's good for him, he can't blame me for humiliating him in public. Jiang Shasha muttered to herself. She even began to put on a cold expression, having already prepared her words of rejection. Even the boy next to Jiang Shasha wore a playful expression. Since he was pursuing Jiang Shasha, he had naturally investigated her background and knew about Zhao Chen, the destitute baron. He loved seeing the look of shame and resentment on people's faces after having their beloved treasures snatched away by him. Just as the two were waiting for the next scene to play out. To their surprise, Zhao Chen didn't even spare Jiang Shasha a second glance and walked right past them. This action left both Jiang Shasha and the boy dumbfounded. Even Li Wei was stunned. He had originally thought Zhao Chen would feel bitter seeing his fiancée with another boy and step forward to question them. But Zhao Chen had actually just walked straight past. Look, the view is best here. You can even see the starships moored over there. Zhao Chen sat down at a dining table with a massive transparent floor-to-ceiling window and pointed toward a starport in the distance where dozens of starships were docked. Li Wei was astonished. Big brother, did you really sit here just to look at the scenery? Zhao Chen was indeed there to look at starships. Perhaps it was something inherent in a man's blood, but Zhao Chen was currently extremely interested in starships. Based on the knowledge he had learned in his mind, Zhao Chen identified the starships moored in the starport one by one. Most were T2 starships, with some T1 starships mixed in. T1 starships were considered outdated products in this era, generally used for civilian purposes or for patrol and guard duties in various galaxies. To truly go to a battlefield, one needed at least a T2 starship. The hull of a T2 starship was several times larger than a T1 starship. The most numerous types were interstellar destroyers and interstellar frigates, which together accounted for 2/3 of the fleet. The rest were interstellar cruisers and interstellar battlecruisers. Zhao Chen even saw a T1 interstellar battleship, but it was clearly an antique. As for the aircraft carrier starship class, Zhao Chen didn't see any. Interstellar battleships and aircraft carrier starships could be considered the most expensive of all ship classes. One was the overlord of interstellar dogfights, the other the banner of giant ships and big guns. Zhao Chen soon spotted a starship identical to the one Li Wei had purchased, a T-2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer. This was currently the best-selling T-2 interstellar destroyer within the Starlight Empire, and many people favored this model. The hull length was 230 meters, equivalent to the size of a large sports stadium. The moored T-2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer had the original steel-colored paint job, with crests symbolizing its identity sprayed on the right side of the hull. There were 3 crests in total. The one at the very front was the Galaxy Alliance crest. The Starlight Empire was a member of the Galactic Alliance, and all starships within the Galactic Alliance had to have this crest painted on them. Further back was the 7-star crest of the Starlight Empire, representing the 7 families that founded the Empire. Finally, there was the crest symbolizing the owner of the starship, along with the ship serial number and so on. This last one was the largest and most eye-catching. These 3 crests were equivalent to the starship's identification card. "What are you planning to eat today?" "My treat," Li Wei said generously. "Really?" Zhao Chen looked at Li Wei teasingly, then clicked an ordering button on the table. A holographic ordering page immediately appeared before him, and he swiped straight to the end of the menu. Li Wei immediately said with a bitter smile, "Big brother, although my old man bought me a starship, you know that the pocket money he gives me every month isn't actually that much." Zhao Chen stopped teasing him. "Even though you're a second-generation rich kid, and I'm just a destitute baron, I haven't fallen so low that I need to leech off you. Wait until you've truly made it big, then you can treat me." After saying that, Zhao Chen ordered the cheapest set meal. Li Wei ordered something similar. Soon, a robot waiter delivered the 2 set meals to Zhao Chen and Li Wei. Nutritional set A and nutritional set C for the 2 of you. Please enjoy your meal. Zhao Chen began eating the food, which looked good but tasted terrible. If he had to give a review, it felt like eating plastic. Food prices seem to have gone up again recently. Eating these artificial nutritional meals every day, I feel like I'm going to lose my sense of taste. I really want to eat some of that naturally grown food. Li Wei complained with a long face. "Beg your dad to give you more pocket money," Zhao Chen said without looking up. "My dad is a total stingy miser. Aside from that one big splurge on the starship, there's no way he's coughing up more cash. And do you know how expensive naturally grown ingredients are nowadays? Even my dad can only afford the most basic 3 dishes and a soup, and can only eat meat once a week. A life of daily feasting and indulgence is probably something only high-level nobles can enjoy." Li Wei waved his hand. Zhao Chen looked at the food on his tray. In this era, everything was great and very advanced. But the only bad thing was the food. Because of the massive population, coupled with the overexploitation of planetary land resources and the high cost of natural farming, the vast majority of ordinary people now consume cheap, tasteless artificial nutritional meals. Only the high officials, nobles, and wealthy merchants could afford to eat naturally grown food. Even the most common rice, steamed buns, and vegetables from Zhao Chen's previous life were expensive commodities here. Ordinary middle to low tier nobles could only enjoy them occasionally. "Isn't this Baron Zhao Chen? How can a grand baron eat this kind of food?" An unfriendly voice came from nearby. Li Wei frowned and looked over. Jiang Sha and the man Zhao Chen had ignored earlier were actually sitting right next to them. This man's status was not ordinary. His name was Zhang Haoren, and his father was a viscount. Zhao Chen ignored him and continued eating his food with his head down. "I forgot to notify Baron Zhao Chen of something. Sha has already agreed to be my girlfriend. As for the engagement between you and Sha, if you're smart, you'll nullify it yourself. Someone like you is worthy of Sha. Know your place." Zhang Haoren mocked unceremoniously, looking at Zhao Chen with contempt. He loved this feeling of humiliating others. Zhao Chen, ignoring them earlier, had already irked Zhang Haoren, so he simply took the opportunity to pick a fight, even bringing up his relationship with Jiang Sha. Jiang Sha, standing nearby, frowned slightly. She had only agreed to spend some time with Zhang Haoren, and for him to directly say they were dating made her feel a little displeased. It was then that Zhao Chen finally looked up, glancing indifferently at Zhang Haoren, and uttered a single word. "Oh." Zhang Haoran's mouth twitched. What is wrong with this guy? Wasn't it rumored that he was very fond of Jiang Shasha? How could he be so indifferent now, despite such provocation? Jiang Shasha also looked at Zhao Chen in surprise. She, too, felt that Zhao Chen seemed different from before. He, as expected, a useless barren, a piece of trash who has accomplished nothing. Zhang Haoran attacked again. Li Wei could no longer tolerate it and pointed directly at Zhang Haoran. Zhang Haoran, don't push your luck. What are you? If I am a useless barren, then you're not even useless. If I recall correctly, you failed your final exams for 3 consecutive years. If it weren't for your father pulling strings, you would have been expelled long ago. Zhao Chen glanced at Zhang Haoran, speaking the most damaging words in the calmest tone. You. Zhang Haoran was enraged and humiliated. This was his sore spot, what he disliked most for others to bring up in front of him. So, what if I have connections? My father has even arranged a T2 starship for me for the next semester. I bet you'll only be able to bring out a T1 starship then. I remember there will be live combat drills, and your T1 starship will probably become a target. Zhang Haoran laughed heartily. Triggered random quest. Challenge Zhang Haoran to a starship duel and defeat him in the duel. Would you like to accept? Zhao Chen's expression changed. He hadn't expected a random quest to be triggered at this moment. Defeating Zhang Haoran, that's a bit difficult. But compared to the previous seasonal quest, it was much simpler. The most important point was that completing the quest, besides the currently uncertain quest reward, would also grant a quest point. Although Zhao Chen currently had system points, items in the system store could not be exchanged freely. Exchanging an item required corresponding quest points. For example, T1 tier items required 1 quest point and corresponding system points. And quest points were precisely what Zhao Chen desperately lacked at the moment. Don't blame me for being blunt. Facts are facts. I advise you, instead of wasting your time here and humiliating yourself, you might as well roll back to your remote interstellar territory early. Zhang Haoran saw Zhao Chen stunned by his words. He thought his words had hit Zhao Chen's weak spot. Jiang Shasha, on the side, watched all of this indifferently. Zhang Haoran might be a bit excessive, but if this could make Zhao Chen realize the gap between them and retreat gracefully, then it wouldn't be bad. At this moment, Zhao Chen's lips curved upwards. Who's humiliating themselves is still uncertain. Zhao Chen looked up, making direct eye contact with Zhang Haoran for the first time, his gaze filled with provocation and amusement. At the same time, Zhao Chen's mind stirred. Confirm quest acceptance. Random quest accepted. Quest content. Challenge Zhang Haoran to a starship duel and defeat him in the duel. Quest difficulty, D rank. Quest reward, 1 quest point and 300 points. Failure penalty, deduct 300 points. So, there was a failure penalty, a direct deduction of 300 points. One must know that Zhao Chen currently only had 100 points in his account. If the quest failed, wouldn't it become a negative number? You, a guy who can't even secure a starship. What right do you have to speak here? If I were you, I'd pack my bags and scram already. You don't even have the right to stay in North Star. Zhang Haoran angrily pointed directly at Zhao Chen's nose. A fallen noble should just quietly accept humiliation. Why did this guy repeatedly refuse to play by the rules? Since you're so confident, how about we have a starship duel? Zhao Chen took out a card from the collar of his academy uniform. It was the academy's student ID card, which could be used for studying, living, and various other activities within the academy. This also included starship duels. Starship duel? You and me? Zhang Haoran was first stunned, then burst into laughter. He stood up and walked directly to Zhao Chen's table. You, a guy who doesn't even have a starship, what will you fight me with? Are you worthy? The time is certainly not now. There is still a month until the end of the semester. Let's set it before the end of June, and I will tell you the duel time then. If I lose, I will automatically withdraw from the academy next semester. If you lose, Zhao Chen narrowed his eyes, staring at the other party. I'll withdraw, Zhang Haoran said in response. At this moment, the turn of events had exceeded the expectations of Jiang Shasha and Li Wei. Li Wei stood up, pushed Zhang Haoran away, and stood in front of Zhao Chen. Zhang Haoran, if you have the guts, duel me with a starship. Zhang Haoran glanced at Li Wei, spread his hands, and chuckled. Everyone saw it. This starship duel was proposed by Zhao Chen. Li Wei's father had considerable influence, and Zhang Haoran was unwilling to stir up unnecessary trouble. Li Wei, let me handle this myself. Zhao Chen placed his hand on Li Wei's shoulder. But if you still consider me a friend, then trust me, Zhao Chen said seriously. Li Wei gritted his teeth, only able to glare indignantly at Zhang Haoran. And at this moment, a holographic projection box appeared between Zhao Chen and Zhang Haoran. Third-year student Zhao Chen has issued a starship duel request to third-year student Zhang Haoran. Time tentatively within 1 month. Please confirm. By now, the commotion had attracted quite a few people. One must know that starship duels were very rare, as they belonged to the category of actual combat, and starship duels inevitably led to hull damage and even casualties. So North Star Starship Military Academy only had about 4 or 5 such starship duels a month. Although I don't know where you get your confidence, I will make you regret your decision today. Zhang Haoran disdainfully took out his ID card and accepted Zhao Chen's starship challenge. At this point, the duel information between the two had been entered into the Academy's database, awaiting only the final time confirmation. Li Wei, are you done eating? If so, let's go. Zhao Chen wiped his mouth, his calm expression as if nothing had happened. Huh? Oh, I'm done eating. Li Wei had no appetite now and left the cafeteria with Zhao Chen. Zhang Haoran looked at Zhao Chen's retreating back, a sneer on his face. A guy who didn't even have a starship dared to duel him? He would be the one to lose face then. Sha, don't worry. As long as I defeat him and make him get out of the academy, he won't have a chance to bother you anymore. Zhang Haoran looked at Jiang Sha, already in the posture of a victor. Jiang Sha was also watching Zhao Chen's departing figure, wondering why she felt that Zhao Chen had changed so much. Most importantly, she just realized that, up until now, Zhao Chen had never truly looked at her directly. Had he truly forgotten her? Or was he deliberately pretending? For some reason, Jiang Sha felt a touch of resentment. Zhao Chen, you were too impulsive just now. I know you really hate Zhang Haoran. He took away Jiang Sha, but you can't challenge him to a starship duel. The application for the starship duel has already been submitted. It can't be canceled. If it really comes down to it, I'll lend you my T2 hyena. Li Wei walked beside Zhao Chen, his anxious expression making it seem as if he, not Zhao Chen, was the one participating in the duel. No need, I have a starship. Zhao Chen felt a warmth in his heart as he saw Li Wei's anxious look for him. Li Wei truly treated him like a brother, simply because from the day they entered school, Zhao Chen had helped this second-generation rich kid from a merchant family, tutoring him and assisting him with his assignments. Otherwise, he would never have passed the exams for all subjects in the previous 3 years. From then on, their relationship had been very good. You have a starship? How come I don't know? Li Wei looked at Zhao Chen in surprise. Zhao Chen was with him almost 24 hours a day, except when he was sleeping or using the restroom. How could he not know if Zhao Chen had a starship? Well, we're going to exchange for one now, Zhao Chen said with a slight smile. What? Going to exchange for one now? Li Wei froze, then clutched his head. My barren young master, that's too big of a joke. You're going to use a starship from the Academy Starship Warehouse to duel Zhang Haoran. Half an hour later, Zhao Chen and Li Wei arrived at the Academy's Starship Warehouse. This place was different from a starport. A starport housed starships ready for immediate departure. A starship warehouse, however, was used for storing starships. Some starships here could even be described as covered in dust, having been stored for who knows how many years. Hello, teacher. I'm here to exchange for a starship. Zhao Chen approached the warehouse manager's counter. The warehouse manager glanced at Zhao Chen. Perhaps because it was already the end of the semester, he knew that third-year students were starting to prepare the starships they would need for the next semester, and he was used to students coming here to exchange for starships. Take a look yourself. Here's the list. It has data on each starship model, as well as the required student points. The warehouse manager opened the inquiry window, letting Zhao Chen browse. The list was filled with starships. There were nearly 300 of them. However, the vast majority were T1 starships, and most of them were second-hand starships. After all, who would park a new starship here? Zhao Chen, you've always done well in your studies. You should have about 30,000 academy points after 3 semesters. Then exchanging for this T2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer is perfect. It's a starship from 20 years ago, with slight damage to its hull. Although the model is a bit old, the core technology is quite comprehensive. Li Wei knew that the starship duel was a done deal, and now they could only figure out how to deal with it. Zhao Chen shook his head, continuing to look. Li Wei then introduced several more T2 starships, all quite cost-effective, but Zhao Chen shook his head at each one. Young master, how long are you going to take to choose? Although there are over 300 starships here, only these few are the most suitable. Li Wei looked at Zhao Chen, who had still not made a decision. I've already chosen, Zhao Chen said. Chosen? Which one? Li Wei looked curious. Zhao Chen looked at the manager-teacher. Teacher, as long as I have enough points, can I exchange for multiple starships? Indeed, there's no limit on the number of exchanges, the manager-teacher nodded. Zhao Chen checked off several starships in the inquiry window. Then I'll take these 3. 3? Li Wei and the manager-teacher were both stunned. They both simultaneously checked the 3 starships. T2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer has been in service for 59 years. Hull was severely damaged. 3 main guns were severely damaged. Now repaired. Requires 9,000 points. T2 Grey Wolf-class light star cruiser has been in service for 65 years. Requires 7,000 points. T2 Devil Crocodile-class medium interstellar battleship has been in service for 80 years. Requires 11,000 points. Upon seeing the data for these 3 starships, Li Wei and the manager-teacher were both dumbfounded. These 3 starships were undoubtedly old models among all the starships in the warehouse. Are you sure you want to exchange for these 3 starships? Aren't you going to reconsider? Although these 3 starships were excellent models in their time, over time, their starship modules have severely aged, the manager-teacher advised. Li Wei also quickly said, Zhao Chen, don't joke around. A starship duel is one-on-one. It's useless even if you choose 3. I'm sure just these 3. Please exchange them for me, Zhao Chen said firmly. After repeated confirmation from the manager-teacher, he finally exchanged these 3 starships for Zhao Chen. Li Wei covered his face beside him. He felt like he was dreaming. He simply couldn't understand what Zhao Chen was doing today. These 3 starships have been transferred to your name. You can retrieve them at any time. If you wish to continue storing them in the warehouse, it's free for 1 month, and after 1 month, a storage fee will be charged. The manager-teacher was now looking at Zhao Chen with the gaze one would give an idiot. Teacher, points can also be used to exchange for some starship parts, right? And each student has free access to the starship modification and repair dry dock. I haven't used mine for 3 semesters, so I should have 30 days of free access, Zhao Chen added. Yes, the manager-teacher nodded. Then I'll write down a list of starship parts here. Also, please trouble the teacher to arrange a starship dry dock for me and send all 3 of these starships and the starship parts on this list over, Zhao Chen requested. The manager-teacher glanced at the list of parts. They were all very common. And the academy points Zhao Chen had left after exchanging for the starships were just enough to exchange for these. Do you need to hire starship engineers or repairmen? They can repair and modify the starship according to your requirements, the manager-teacher asked. No need, Zhao Chen shook his head. The manager-teacher didn't press further. I'll have it done for you within half an hour. You'll receive the starship dry dock number then, and you can go directly. Thank you, teacher, Zhao Chen said. After finishing their business, Zhao Chen and Li Wei left the area. What a strange student, the manager-teacher muttered. Walking out of the starship warehouse, Li Wei couldn't hold back any longer. He grabbed Zhao Chen's shoulder. Zhao Chen, what exactly are you trying to do? What use can those 3 dilapidated starships be? You're joking with your future. Zhao Chen still calmly said, Li Wei, trust me. I'll handle this matter. Ew. Forget it. I don't care about you anymore. Li Wei was a bit angry, waving his hand as if he couldn't be bothered with Zhao Chen. Zhao Chen felt helpless. What he was about to do, even if he explained it to Li Wei now, Li Wei wouldn't believe him. Instead of wasting time, it was better to prove everything with facts when the time came. Ding third-year student Zhao Chen has obtained usage rights for medium-small starship dry dock number 017. Entry to the starship dry dock is permitted with a student ID card during the usage period. Upon receiving the message, Zhao Chen temporarily parted ways with Li Wei and headed to the starship dry dock. Arriving at the entrance of the starship dry dock, he swiped his student ID card, and the large door automatically opened. Inside was a very large space, at least the size of 3 to 5 football fields. A pungent smell of rust and starship oil wafted towards him. Zhao Chen walked inside and saw 3 starships, as if waiting for his arrival. Their rusty hulls testified to their age and history of past battles. Although the Academy had repaired and maintained them, they had, after all, been in service for so many years. Zhao Chen first walked to the workshop's main control panel, brought up holographic screens one by one, and quickly tapped on the holographic keyboard, inputting data one after another. Finally, the data for the 3 starship models was clearly displayed, and Zhao Chen even edited 3-dimensional models. If one looked closely, they would find that the 3-dimensional models of the starships were divided into gray and red areas. Combining these areas together will do it. Zhao Chen enthusiastically overlapped the red areas, forming a blurry starship prototype that looked mismatched. Then Zhao Chen retrieved a data file from a top-secret document on his handheld terminal. That was also a starship model. It was precisely the T-3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battle cruiser. In fact, Zhao Chen's purpose in acquiring these 3 starships was very simple. With his current capabilities, it was impossible to construct the T-3 starship rewarded by the system. However, if he used the technical blueprints provided by the T-3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser as a foundation and modified these 3 starships, he might be able to assemble a simplified version of the T-3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser. In Zhao Chen's mind, which already possessed top starship engineer skills, after countless calculations, he determined that the feasibility of this plan was as high as 80%. Using the hull of a T-2 Devil Crocodile-class medium interstellar battleship, then combining it with some performance modules from the T-2 Hyena and T-2 Grey Wolf. Zhao Chen muttered excitedly, a wild glint in his eyes. Having formulated the assembly plan, Zhao Chen immediately began to operate. He went to the control console and personally operated the robotic arm to begin cutting the 3 starships. This was Zhao Chen's first time modifying a starship, but the moment he started, Zhao Chen felt as if he had done this many times before. It was second nature to him, and his operations were perfectly executed. Even the most senior starship engineer in the Academy would be amazed by this young man's craftsmanship and skill. Without 50 or 60 years of practical experience and top-tier knowledge, it would be impossible to perform with such fluidity. Disassembling 3 starships by oneself is a considerable amount of work. Hiring repairmen or engineers to assist would be a great help. But Zhao Chen couldn't do that. Firstly, because Zhao Chen had no Academy points left. All his Academy points were used for exchanging parts. Secondly, this process could not be known to outsiders. Disassembling 3 different starships and assembling them into a brand new starship, which also involves some core technologies of the T-3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser. If someone noticed something amiss and it spread, who knows what consequences that might lead to? So, the entire process could only be handled by Zhao Chen himself. Zhao Chen calculated in his mind that about 20-odd days would be enough. For the next 3 weeks, Zhao Chen basically canceled all his classes. Also, because it was nearing the end of the semester, some assessments had already concluded, and Zhao Chen's credits were sufficient to qualify for the 4th year. So Zhao Chen's truancy didn't have much impact. However, the news of Zhao Chen challenging Zhang Haoren had spread throughout the 3rd year, and many students would go to Zhao Chen's classroom to see this rumored down-and-out barren. but they all returned disappointed. Beep, 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 beep. The Starship workshop door flashed red, and a prompt sound indicating someone was requesting entry came through. For the first few minutes, Zhao Chen ignored it, but the prompt sound was very patient, continuing for about 10 minutes. Zhao Chen could no longer endure it, so he dragged his tired body out of the workstation, went to the main door, and opened it. Zhao Chen, are you crazy? As soon as the door opened a crack, before he could clearly see the person, he heard a delicate shout, and then a slender, fair leg stepped in first. Zhao Wanner immediately pointed at Zhao Chen's nose and scolded him, but Zhao Chen basically didn't hear any of it. He leaned against the doorframe. Wanner, are you done scolding? If you're done, I need to rest. Zhao Chen half closed his eyes and yawned. The graceful woman before him, with skin as fair as blizzard, was Zhao Chen's younger sister, Zhao Wanner. She was also a fourth-year student at the North Star Starship Academy and would be a fifth year next year. Why was Zhao Chen, the older brother, only a third-year student, while Zhao Wanner was a fourth year? Because Zhao Wanner was a genius. She completed all 3 years of coursework and passed all assessments in just 1 year, surpassing her older brother Zhao Chen and becoming a fourth-year student. Due to her outstanding appearance, she had always been a great beauty in the academy. She was currently wearing a white military uniform, and considering that this young lady only came to find him more than half a month after the incident, it was probably due to the fourth-year final assessment, which required piloting a starship for practical combat assessment, and she had only just returned to the academy. Upon returning, she immediately heard the news and came to find him. Zhao Wana looked at Zhao Chen, who had dark circles under his eyes, messy hair, and even an odor about him. Then she looked behind Zhao Chen, where there was a makeshift bed on the ground at the entrance of the workshop, with a box of instant nutritional meals next to it, and discarded packaging scattered everywhere, emitting a sour smell. Several sets of clean academy uniforms were also thrown on the ground, untidy. It was clear what kind of life Zhao Chen had been living for the past half-month. You still have time to rest? Do you know how much trouble you've caused? For a woman, you're going to have a starship duel with Zhang Haoren, and you even made a bet that whoever loses gets expelled from the academy. Are you crazy? Now Vanya grabbed Zhao Chen's ear, frustrated. Logically, this force should have caused some pain. But now, sleepiness overwhelmed Zhao Chen, and he directly fell onto Zhao Wanner. You! Thud! Zhao Wanner fell to the ground, and Zhao Chen leaned against her like a child. This guy, Zhao Wanner, was helpless and could only drag Zhao Chen into the starship workshop first. But when she looked up at the starship parking area, which was several football fields in size, she was stunned. A starship stood there. The hull was visibly old, not new. Some areas were uneven, and there were even traces of being hit by cannon fire. On the surrounding control consoles, scattered parts of various sizes could be seen. But despite this, Zhao Wanner could still feel the hidden ferocity emanating from this starship. Most importantly, Zhao Wanner felt that this starship looked familiar, but she couldn't recall any such starship in the Starship Encyclopedia she had studied. Wanner. A call from behind pulled Zhao Wanner back to reality. Zhao Chen had woken up by now, sitting cross-legged on the ground. Although he had only slept for about 10 minutes, Zhao Chen's condition was much better now. What is this? Zhao Wanner pointed at the unknown starship before her. My starship, Zhao Chen replied instinctively. You're lying to me without even thinking. I heard from that Li Wei kid that you exchanged your academy points for 3 old starships. Not at all. Zhao Wanner stopped mid-sentence. She turned her head and looked at the starship before her with an incredulous gaze. She seemed to know why this unknown starship felt familiar to her. Wanner, aren't you usually very smart? How come you still haven't figured it out? Zhao Chen said with a teasing smirk. Zhao Wanner meticulously examined the starship from top to bottom. She looked at Zhao Chen in astonishment. This starship was assembled from those 3. T2 Hyena, T2 Gray Wolf, and T2 Devil Crocodile. She realized why this starship gave her a sense of déjà vu. Its hull bore a 90% resemblance to the T2 Devil Crocodile class medium interstellar battleship. and the weapon modules on it were very similar to those of the T-2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer. And also, all in all, this starship had too many characteristics of those 3 starships. That's right, Zhao Chen admitted openly. The matter of the T-3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser could not be revealed yet, but the fact that he had assembled a starship himself could not be hidden, because there were exchange records in the starship warehouse, and, combined with Zhao Chen's upcoming duel with Zhang Haoren using this starship, anyone with eyes could figure it out. You've been assembling this starship here for the past half-month? When did you learn starship assembly? Zhao Wana looked at Zhao Chen in disbelief. Disassembling 3 starships and assembling them into one starship was no easy feat. Most importantly, it had to be ensured that all modules of this starship could actually be activated. Zhao Chen pointed at the starship, smiling. I have many secrets. Besides the courses for our captain department, I also secretly learned some starship engineering on my own. And this is my first starship. I'm naming it Blizzard Zero, because while it was a simplified version of the T-3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser, using the name Blizzard felt somewhat inappropriate. So, Zhao Chen simply created a separate name, Blizzard Zero. Zero? Blizzard? Zhao Wana mumbled the strange name. What exactly was this starship, which looked like an interstellar battleship, yet also like an interstellar cruiser, and even had the style of an interstellar destroyer? Are you sure it can really be activated? Zhao Chen, I know your feelings for Jiang Shasha, but that woman is really not suitable for you. Don't hang yourself on one tree. And you know the situation of our territory. It wasn't easy for the 2 of us to use the last of the territory's savings to become students at North Star Starship Academy. Only if we graduate successfully can we hope to revitalize the territory. You don't want your title to be revoked by the Imperial Army, do you? If you get expelled, you wouldn't be able to face Mom and Dad's spirits in heaven, right? And Sister's sacrifice. Zhao Wana glared at Zhao Chen resentfully. Then, Zhao Wana directly grabbed Zhao Chen's wrist. I'll go ask my best friend for help. She comes from a prominent family. Let her negotiate with Zhang Haoren to cancel this duel. But Zhao Wana couldn't pull Zhao Chen. Instead, Zhao Chen actually stepped forward and picked up Zhao Wana in a princess carry. Ew. What are you doing? Zhao Wana's cheeks flushed. To see my starship. Zhao Chen said no more, carrying Zhao Wana and running towards the starship's hatch. They passed through the somewhat old corridor inside the hull and arrived at the bridge, which was the brain of this starship. The bridge was not very large, only about 100 square meters. Because it hadn't been activated, the bridge was pitch black. Zhao Chen put Zhao Wana down, walked alone to the captain's chair, sat down, and placed his hand on the right armrest of the captain's chair. Detecting highest authority. Starting identity verification. Captain, Zhao Chen, identity verification complete. A floating crystal console rose in front of Zhao Chen, and he pressed a few buttons on it. Starship activating. Starship main control system activating. Starship energy system activating. 10%, 30%, 60%. As Zhao Chen officially activated this starship, the bridge's lighting system began to activate, and the entire bridge brightened. Immediately, this behemoth began to revive. Starship propulsion system automatic detection in progress. Detection complete. Running well. Starship weapons system automatic detection in progress. Detection complete. Running well. Starship. Mechanical voices echoed on the bridge, one after another. Zhao Chen's first starship was officially awakened. All starship functional modules running normally. Starship energy remaining 19%. Zhao Chen joyfully pumped his fist. Although he had the technical skills, truthfully, he couldn't guarantee 100% success. Unexpectedly, it succeeded on the very first activation. It actually activated. Zhao Wana also hadn't expected it. How is it? Isn't it great? Zhao Chen got off the captain's chair and placed his hand directly on Zhao Wana's shoulder, like a brother. Although they were siblings, due to Zhao Wana's consistent excellence, sometimes it felt more like an older sister and younger brother dynamic. Zhao Wana rolled her eyes. Even if it can activate, what then? What about its combat power? Can it perform in actual combat? These are all questions. I heard that Zhang Haoran's starship is a T2 starship. Are you sure your assembled starship can win? Don't let it fall apart before the fight even begins. Little sister, why don't you believe your big brother? Forget about whether it can win. In 10 minutes, I can take down Zhang Haoran's T2 starship. Zhao Chen confidently crossed two fingers, making a cross gesture. 10 minutes. I never realized you liked to brag so much before. Zhao Wan'er gave Zhao Chen a sidelong glance, not believing a word he said. What's more, there's only you on this starship, no crew members at all. How will you fight? Clap. Zhao Chen suddenly clapped his hands, his eyes shining. How could I forget this? No wonder I felt like something was missing when I activated the starship just now. Zhao Wan'er covered her head, utterly despairing of her older brother. I'd better go discuss with my best friend how to handle this matter. Wan'er, where can I find crew members the fastest? Zhao Chen looked at his sister eagerly at this moment. Modifying and disassembling starships, he was good at that. But when it came to things like this, Zhao Chen really had no idea. You haven't even thought about these things, and you're still thinking about a starship duel? Zhao Wan'er was speechless, but still explained to Zhao Chen. Crew members generally come from three sources. One is students from other departments of the Starship Academy. Besides the captain department that you and I are in, the Starship Military Academy also has various other professional departments. Channel 2 is to recruit some veterans who have retired from the Imperial Army. These crew members are fine in terms of operation, but raising these veterans costs a lot of money. Channel 3 is some less legitimate channels for crew members, such as those who used to be in gray areas, like pirates, slaves, and so on. Actually, the Academy also provides channels for crew recruitment. You can connect your ID card to the Academy network. There are dedicated channels there. Zhao Chen rubbed his chin and, almost without thinking, asked, which one is the cheapest? Zhao Wan'er rolled her eyes, but she also knew that Zhao Chen didn't have much money in his pocket. The cheapest are, of course, some slaves. These slaves are generally prisoners of war, and some of them were originally starship pilots. However, due to loyalty and status issues, many people are reluctant to use slaves, at most assigning them the lowest level jobs, like work on the bridge, and also, Zhao Wan'er was speaking when Zhao Chen had already connected his ID card to the Academy network and found the slave option in the corner of a crew recruitment channel. After clicking, a series of slave lists appeared. After a quick scan, Zhao Chen's eyes suddenly fixed on the slave list, as if he had discovered some treasure. This is it. Zhao Chen clicked a redemption option without hesitation. Because his Academy points were exhausted, Zhao Chen paid with his own account this time. What did you do? Seeing Zhao Chen close the holographic projection interface with a satisfied look, Zhao Wan'er had an ominous premonition. I recruited a crew. It said they'd be delivered within a day, Zhao Chen said. Crew? What kind of crew? Slave crew. Didn't you say they were the cheapest? How much did it cost? Didn't you spend all your Academy points? Not expensive, just 3,000 star coins. If I remember correctly, your living expenses account only had a little over 3,000 star coins left. That's right. Zhao Wan'er's face was already etched with dark lines. Why hadn't she noticed how unreliable her older brother was before? Look, here's the list, Zhao Chen said, showing Zhao Wan'er the list of slaves he bought, which even included pictures. When Zhao Wan'er saw these pictures, it was even worse, because they were all half-beastmans, and they were all female half-beastmans. Zhao Wan'er glared at her older brother with a dark expression. Zhao Chen. Zhao Wan'er eventually scolded Zhao Chen, then turned and left, seething with indignation. In her opinion, her older brother had lost his mind, stubbornly refusing to see reason. She had to prepare for the worst, which meant cleaning up Zhao Chen's mess. After Zhao Wan'er left, Zhao Chen first washed up, had a good night's sleep, and changed into a clean set of clothes. Just then, the slave crew Zhao Chen ordered arrived. Hello, are you Mr. Zhao Chen? Here are the 100 slaves you ordered. Please show me your ID card. A man with a professional smile appeared at the entrance of Zhao Chen's workshop. Behind the man were 10 mechanical carts covered with black cloth, each 3 meters high, 4 to 5 meters long, and 2 meters wide. Besides these, no other personnel were visible. Zhao Chen showed his ID card and asked doubtfully, "Then where are the people I ordered?" "They're in here." The man uncovered the black cloth of one mechanical cart, revealing iron cages inside. The cages were roughly 1 meter high cubes, inside which half-beastmen sat with their hands clasped around their knees. Their clothes were tattered, and electronic shackles were on their necks and feet. Each of them looked haggard and frightened. This is the software to control the electronic shackles on their necks. These electronic shackles have electroshock and self-destruct functions. Unless you enter the password to unlock them, any external damage will trigger self-destruction, the man explained. "I understand. Are these cages also for me?" Zhao Chen asked, pointing at the tools. "Of course," the man said with a smile. These half-beastmen had been in their hands for a long time. It was hard enough to find someone willing to buy them, so a few mechanical carts and cages were nothing. "Then I'll just push them in myself." Zhao Chen pushed the dozen or so mechanical carts into the workshop himself. He uncovered all the black cloths. One by one, the half-beastmen were fully revealed before Zhao Chen's eyes. There were many types of half-orcs. Some had fur all over their bodies like wild beasts, while others looked more like humans but had the ears or tails of wild beasts. Among them, half-beastmen with the characteristics of dogs, pigs, and sheep were the most numerous. And one of them was the most striking. It was a female half-beastman with white fur and blue eyes, filled with aggression, anger, and unwillingness. She had a pair of white broken ears on her head. She also had a section of white broken tail on her buttocks. At the same time, there were many ugly scars on her face and body. If it weren't for these scars, even as a half-beastman, she would likely be quite aesthetically pleasing to humans. Zhao Chen was very familiar with this female half-beastman because when he bought them, the biggest reason he chose this batch of half-beastmen was this particular female half-beastman. "Hello, General Charlotte." The white-furred half-beastman woman looked at the person in front of her with some surprise, as he had actually spoken her name, especially that title. General Charlotte, born the blackest starfield of the Warhammer Interstellar Tribal Confederacy, from the White Tiger tribe lineage. Dissatisfied with the local Lord Fleet's oppression of half-beastman tribes within the starfield, she rose up and formed an interstellar resistance army. Over 3 years, she participated in no less than 50 large and small interstellar battles. She once commanded a resistance army starfleet of 300 starships, engaging in a fierce battle with a 500 starship Lord fleet, ultimately achieving a tragic victory, even destroying an enemy T3 starship. However, 3 months ago, due to a traitor's betrayal, her operations were exposed, and she was ambushed by an enemy fleet several times her size. Her star fleet was completely destroyed, and her whereabouts have been unknown since. I never expected her to fall into slavery and be sold to the Starlight Empire. Zhao Chen recounted the deeds of this half-beastman female general before him, item by item. Hearing the man speak of these past events, Charlotte's expression became a little lost. Zhao Chen opened Charlotte's cage and sat down on the ground in front of her. "How about it? Do you want to talk?" Charlotte gave a self-deprecating laugh. "Talk? I'm just a prisoner now. What is there to talk about? For example, let's talk about your freedom and the freedom of those half-beastman soldiers who, like you, have fallen to this state." Zhao Chen's words caught Charlotte's attention, and she stared at him warily. "What do you mean?" Zhao Chen smiled and said, "To put it simply, I have a starship, but I don't have a crew. So, I hope you and your people can serve as my crew." "Heh, you just want free labor from us, don't you? You bought us slaves for that, didn't you?" Charlotte sneered. No. I want a crew, not slaves. Interstellar warriors willing to truly fight for me." Zhao Chen corrected. "Half-beastmen will never fight for others." A pride belonging to them flickered in Charlotte's eyes. "Even if you don't consider yourself, you should consider those half-beastman warriors who once fought alongside you. As far as I know, because of your defeat, nearly 30,000 half-beastman slaves were sold to our Starlight Empire. I only bought 100 of them. The others are now facing an uncertain fate. Don't you want to save them?" Zhao Chen stared at Charlotte. Charlotte's expression showed hesitation. Zhao Chen knew he was more than halfway to success. He stood up. You fight for me, and I promise you that, to the best of my ability, I will buy back all those half-beastmen warriors who were once your subordinates, scattered throughout the Starlight Empire. And as long as you lead them to fight and work for me for 3 years, once 3 years are up, you and they will be free. How about it? Are you willing to fight for me? Or, to put it another way, are you willing to fight for your freedom? Zhao Chen extended his hand to Charlotte in the cage. Charlotte's expression was complex, with various emotions flickering in her eyes. Ultimately, she still extended her hand and shook Zhao Chen's. But she still said stubbornly, I'm doing this for my people. 100 half-beastmen sat on the ground, holding their meal boxes and eating directly with their hands. Although it was just some tasteless artificial food, these half-beastmen still devoured it voraciously. Because as slaves, they had basically never eaten their fill in the past. After all, slave traders were never merciful to slaves. After dinner, you arrange for them to take a shower and change into new clothes. Then they can board the starship and get familiar with their future workstations. Zhao Chen sat next to Charlotte, holding the same meal. Charlotte, after all, was once a fleet commander, and compared to other half-beastmen soldiers, she paid more attention to her demeanor. She still chewed slowly when eating. She looked at the same food in Zhao Chen's hand, and she was a little surprised. You eat this too? Otherwise, I'm not afraid to tell you. Your captain is very poor right now. My current food storage is only enough for us for half a month at most. As for whether we will have food in the future, it depends on your performance next. Zhao Chen said pitifully from his side. Charlotte saw that Zhao Chen had no heirs, and her attitude towards Zhao Chen improved a lot, but she squinted at Zhao Chen. Why did you only recruit female half-beastmen? Logically speaking, for combat and warfare, everyone would be more inclined towards males. I warn you, if you make any rash moves towards them, our previous agreement will be void. I cannot let them sell their dignity and flesh for freedom. Zhao Chen waved his hands repeatedly and said helplessly, Don't worry about this. I won't have any ulterior motives towards them. It's just for certain reasons, so I only recruited female soldiers this time. As for the reason, I'm not convenient to explain right now. Zhao Chen was also very helpless about this point. Who told the system to have restrictions? I cannot ask for the reason, but if I find out that you have ill intentions towards them, snort. Charlotte glared at Zhao Chen. And don't say it, looking at this white-haired half-beastman's warning look, it was a little cute. However, the wounds and scars on her body were indeed a bit of an eyesore. Those scars on your body were self-inflicted, right? Zhao Chen chatted. Charlotte did not hide it, nodding, yes. At that time, my rebel army was framed by a traitor and completely annihilated. Under those circumstances, if I didn't do that, if I was recognized by those people, I would never have appeared here. They would never be so merciful as to sell a rebel general as a slave. Zhao Chen understood the reason behind it. If Charlotte had been recognized by the enemy, she would definitely not have had a good outcome after being captured. Even if she wasn't recognized, with her original appearance, her fate would definitely not have been much better. It's quite surprising that you could recognize me. Charlotte looked at Zhao Chen, a little curious. Zhao Chen recognized her at first glance before, which directly proved that Zhao Chen came specifically for her. When I was studying at the academy, I researched some of your battles and saw some of your image photos. Actually, when I saw your appearance on the slave list, I wasn't sure yet. After all, the difference between you now and you then are too great. The old you, well, like the morning light. It wasn't until I tricked you a bit that I confirmed you were General Charlotte, Zhao Chen said with a smile. Actually, this was also thanks to the memory of this body, which was a bookworm and loved to browse battle data of various races. Charlotte rolled her eyes, realizing that she had exposed her own identity. Actually, with current medical technology, repairing these wounds and scars on your body is completely possible. Zhao Chen said he had seen Charlotte's previous image data. That was definitely a beauty, even by human aesthetic standards. In the academy, she could even be considered the campus belle. No need. A warrior doesn't care about her skin. Charlotte coldly rejected the proposal. Seeing Charlotte's determination, Zhao Chen didn't say anything more. He didn't have the conditions for it right now either. After all, that kind of medical repair technology was also very expensive. After eating, Zhao Chen said, "Let's go to your future workstation first." He pointed to the steel starship. Charlotte did not refuse and followed Zhao Chen aboard the Blizzard Zero. "Is this the starship you assembled?" Charlotte walked along the corridor inside the starship. Zhao Chen nodded. "That's right. I assembled it using modules from the T2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer, T2 Grey Wolf-class light star cruiser, and T2 Devil Crocodile-class medium interstellar battleship. I named it Blizzard Zero. I'm not very familiar with these 3 starships, but judging from the interior of the hull, they are relatively old starships, and many parts are quite outdated. The combat effectiveness of such a starship is not optimistic." Charlotte said bluntly. No. I believe you will soon retract your current thoughts. You will fall in love with this starship." Zhao Chen smiled mysteriously. Charlotte didn't care. She accepted her fate. No matter what kind of starship this guy was, she had no other choice now. At least this guy, so far, hadn't revealed any disgusting qualities. Although the fact that he only recruited female half-beastmen raised considerable suspicion. Soon, the two arrived at the bridge of the Blizzard Zero. This was Charlotte's first time, and Zhao Chen's second. The last time was when he came with his younger sister, Zhao Wan'er. Charlotte surveyed the bridge. It was a very conventional layout, with no particular highlights. Next, you will be responsible for arranging the positions of those half-beastmen crew members. I need them to form effective combat power in the shortest possible time. Zhao Chen demanded. Charlotte looked at Zhao Chen and made a request. If that's the case, I need to understand some performance modules of this starship. Before Charlotte could finish speaking, Zhao Chen handed a handheld terminal to Charlotte. I have already registered your information in it. You now have the highest authority over this starship, apart from me. You can access most of this starship's data. From now on, you're the executive officer of this starship. Charlotte looked at Zhao Chen with some surprise. She took the handheld terminal and looked at Zhao Chen suspiciously. You trust me that much? Aren't you worried I'll betray you? Zhao Chen wore a faint smile. In fact, as soon as Charlotte entered this starship, he had used the system skill Eye of Insight on Charlotte. Because Zhao Chen was the captain of this starship, it met the usage conditions for Eye of Insight. Under the observation of Eye of Insight, Charlotte currently had no killing intent or hostility toward Zhao Chen. As for loyalty, it could not be determined. But that was enough. Zhao Chen didn't expect Charlotte to pledge allegiance to him in such a short time. As long as she was willing to work for him, that was enough. However, Zhao Chen still had to maintain his outward demeanor. He sat in the captain's chair with a relaxed posture. I trust the person I chose, my dear executive officer. It's time for you to work. Vice Captain Charlotte faced Captain Zhao's words and pondered for a moment without saying much. She put the handheld terminal on her wrist and used its permissions to access the relevant data files for this starship. What she saw was astonishing. Charlotte's eyes widened, and she looked at Captain Zhao beside her in disbelief. The data for your starship is all real? Of course it's real, Captain Zhao said, as if showing off his child. How about it? How's my starship? Charlotte said with a serious expression. If the data displayed on it is real, then this starship can almost be said to be invincible in T2 starship duels. Invincible? What a terrifying evaluation that was. If Zhao Wan'er and Li Wei heard this evaluation, they would definitely scoff. How could a starship assembled from 3 dilapidated starships become an invincible T2 starship? What a joke. Later, we'll go out for a test run. You can arrange the crew's positions. Captain Zhao rubbed his nose and said somewhat awkwardly, because I don't have much funds right now, this test run will be a phase for you to familiarize yourselves with the starship and train. I hope you can master controlling the starship as soon as possible. Can I see the list of slaves you purchased? Charlotte asked. Yes, you can see it in your permissions. Charlotte clicked on the list of crew candidates, and it showed the 100 half-beastmen slaves. They were all Charlotte's companions, which softened Charlotte's gaze considerably, and at the same time, Her heart was filled with guilt. The thought of many of her compatriots still being prisoners made her feel uncomfortable. Fortunately, these are all experienced crew members. Plus, this starship is only a T2 class starship, so after 3 to 5 hours of skilled operation, they should be ready for combat. Charlotte replied. Captain Zhao showed a satisfied smile. Half a day later, Charlotte was familiar with the Blizzard Zero, and the other half-beastman crew members had also rested. Here are the positions I've arranged for these half-beastman crew members. Operating this Blizzard Zero only requires 50 crew members. Charlotte handed Captain Zhao a list. The extra personnel will serve as reserve staff for various positions. Let them familiarize themselves with the working environment first, Captain Zhao instructed. This was his first starship, but not his last. These crew members could also be assigned to other starships in the future. I've already applied for permission to depart with the starport. The time limit for my rental of this starship workshop is almost up. I've used my remaining limited funds to rent a berth at the Academy's starport. After the test run and training are complete, we will return directly to the starport berth. I purchased some simple bedding and daily necessities. From now on, you will live on this starship. As for living supplies, I will figure that out later. After Captain Zhao finished speaking, his heart couldn't help but ache. His account funds were dwindling. He still had to support these 100 half-beastman girls, so he had to find a way to make money. To think that a dignified interstellar lord was so poor was truly a bit shabby. Yes, Charlotte accepted Captain Zhao's order and gradually embraced her new identity. Captain Zhao sat in the captain's chair, looking at the old bridge, his heart firm. He was determined to own a true T3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser. This is your living area, 5 people per room. As for meals, there will be 2 per day for now, to be collected on time at the dining area. Each war position will operate on a 3-shift rotation. Understood. Charlotte looked at the 100 half-beastman crew members before her. This feeling was as if she had returned to the era when she was still fighting in the Resistance Starfleet. Months felt like a lifetime. General, do we really have to fight for that human? A half-beastman female crew member raised her hand and asked. The other half-beastmans were also in low spirits. After all, their slave status remained, putting them under great mental pressure. You were all my former subordinates, and it is due to my incompetence that you have fallen to this state. If you're still willing to trust me, I promise I will restore your freedom. Captain Zhao has promised that as long as we fight for him for 3 years, he will grant us our freedom. At the same time, as long as we achieve military merits, he will also help us find our compatriots who were sold to the Starlight Empire. Perhaps you don't trust humans, but I, Charlotte, am willing to trust that man. So, please trust me. I swear by the honor of the White Tiger clan that I will bring you all back. Charlotte's words and emotions infected the half-beastman warriors present. In this scene, this oath was seen by Captain Zhao, who was currently on the bridge. The bridge had surveillance of 80% of the starship's areas. It must be said that Charlotte was very direct. She was fighting for Captain Zhao now, not out of loyalty, but for freedom. Captain Zhao was not repulsed by this. On the contrary, it was this very point that made Captain Zhao choose to trust Charlotte. He wouldn't trust someone who would just buy a slave and then have them kneel before him, pledging loyalty. Captain Zhao wouldn't trust that kind of person. Soon, the originally cluttered starship workshop was cleaned out, and everything that could be taken was taken. At the same time, the starship workshop's navigation channel was opened. Number: Blizzard Zero, permission granted to enter branch channel D13. Captain Zhao sat in the captain's chair, looking at Executive Officer Charlotte beside him, and the more than a dozen half-beastman crew members currently on the bridge. Depart. Captain Zhao spoke. Vice Captain Charlotte relayed the order. Activate starship engines. Enter branch channel D13. The half-beastman crew members operated the starship somewhat clumsily, but it was still smooth. A few minutes later, the Blizzard Zero sailed out of the channel from the North Star Starship Academy, an interstellar city. The Blizzard Zero's bridge was a fully enclosed structure, relying on image capture equipment on the outer hull to project several views from outside the starship onto the bridge, looking at the cosmic scenes appearing on the projected screens before him. Captain Zhao felt a bit excited. He was currently sitting on his own starship, navigating the cosmos. Captain, next we will conduct 29 test run training exercises. Please give the order. Vice Captain Charlotte looked at Captain Zhao. Begin, Captain Zhao said. It was good to have a competent subordinate. He didn't need to do everything himself. Heading 071/299, starship engine power output 30%, speed 30 star radiance knots. Vice Captain Charlotte gave the navigation orders very professionally. Subsequently, this Blizzard Zero began its first test run training. Continue to sail on this heading. Starship engine, full power output, speed 100 star radiance knots. All compartments within the starship closely monitor relevant data. Report any anomalies immediately. Vice Captain Charlotte was now on the final test run training. Full speed navigation. This was to test how the starship's various systems perform at its fastest, most extreme speed. This was also Charlotte's biggest concern for this starship. One had to know that less than a month ago, these were still 3-star ships. 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Report. Engine system all normal, power supply all normal. Report. Hull structure all normal. Report. Navigation stable, no anomalies. 3 hours later, Vice Captain Charlotte let out a long sigh of relief. She looked at Captain Zhao, standing straight. Report. Captain, Blizzard Zero, all 29 test run training items completed. Please instruct. Return to starport, Captain Zhao said with a smile. I think someone is already impatient for a beating. North Star Starship Academy, Class 8, 3rd year. Oh, student Zhao Chen from Class 8 didn't come to class again today. Could it be that he's scared and hiding, not daring to show up? A mocking voice at this moment drifted into the Class 8 classroom, which was currently on a break. Hearing this voice, the students in the classroom all showed displeased expressions. Without guessing, they all knew who the newcomer was. Zhang Haoren from Class 2, 3rd year, and his group of friends. Ever since Zhao Chen and Zhang Haoren agreed to a starship duel, Zhang Haoren often came to Class 8's classroom to show off. After not seeing Zhao Chen's figure several times and learning that Zhao Chen had taken a long leave since that day, he became even more arrogant. He believed that Zhao Chen was afraid of him. Zhang Haoren, this is our Class 8 classroom. If you have nothing to do, please return to your own class too. A cold-faced girl walked up to Zhang Haoren and said with a cold gaze, Please, school rules don't forbid visiting other classrooms during free time. Besides, I'm here to find your dear student Zhao Chen. He made an appointment for a duel with me, and it's almost the end of June in just a few days. I'm just worried he forgot about the duel and wanted to come over and remind him. As Zhang Haoren spoke, his eyes sized up the class beauty of Class 8, who was also the class president, Shun Bing. Shun Bing coldly said, Zhao Chen hasn't been to class for over half a month. If you want to find him, please figure it out yourself. Don't disturb us. Oh, aren't you Class 8 a team? It sounds like Zhao Chen isn't a member of your Class 8, Zhang Haoren laughed. At this moment, Zhang Haoren's followers behind him also scoffed one after another. I think that Zhao Chen kid is scared and hiding, not daring to see people. Once June is over, it's vacation. Our Baron wants to sneak back to his territory in disgrace. Coward! If he's afraid to duel, why did he challenge our young Master Zhang in the first place? If you ask me, our young Master Zhang is magnanimous. When the time comes, just let that Zhao Chen kneel and call him daddy. I was wrong a few times and that'll be it. Ha ha! Hearing this group of people mocking at the classroom door, it made the students of Class 8 very unhappy. But unfortunately, the students enrolled in Class 8 generally had ordinary backgrounds and average grades. Whereas Class 2, where Zhang Haoren was, consisted of students from good backgrounds. This led to Class 8, apart from the habitually strong-willed and excellent student Shen Bing, the class beauty, daring to confront them directly. Other students could only swallow their anger. This caused the students of Class 8 to feel some rejection towards Zhao Chen in their hearts. This guy was simply an embarrassment. It was one thing for him to be ostracized within the class due to his incompetence before, but now he was causing trouble outside, dragging them all down. Such a guy should just drop out quickly. Zhang Haoren, if you're so capable, duel me. What kind of skill is it to yell here? Besides, the duel is set for the end of June. The deadline hasn't even arrived yet. Li Wei couldn't hold back and walked up to Zhang Haoren to retort angrily. Although his father, as an interstellar merchant, had repeatedly cautioned him to be low-key in his actions. But his brother was being mocked and bullied, and he really couldn't stand it anymore. Li Wei, do you want to stick up for your useless brother? Honestly, your choice of friends is really bad. What use is such a useless barren? Zhang Haoren didn't respond to Li Wei's words, only continuing to mock Zhao Chen. Ew. Li Wei's face was filled with anger. Since someone is already impatient to go through the withdrawal procedures, then I'll be kind enough to grant his wish. At this moment, a leisurely voice came from outside the door. Everyone's eyes were drawn over. They saw Zhao Chen, who hadn't been seen for some time, walking in leisurely, looking at Zhang Haoren and his group mockingly. Zhao Chen, who had been missing for almost a month, actually appeared. Oh, I thought you were hiding and didn't dare to show up. Zhang Haoren looked at Zhao Chen with some surprise, but he wasn't worried. In his eyes, Zhao Chen was nothing more than an ant, and he could crush him however he wanted. I was just resting for a few days. I didn't expect someone to be so impatient for a beating. Since that's the case, let's set our duel for tomorrow. How about it, young Master Zhang? Zhao Chen said calmly. Li Wei quickly walked to Zhao Chen's side and whispered, Zhao Chen, calm down. This starship duel is no small matter. Once it starts, there's no right to regret. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Zhao Chen patted Li Wei's shoulder. Stubborn. Then let's officially set the duel time. Zhang Haoren took out his student ID card and looked at Zhao Chen provocatively. Zhao Chen didn't hesitate and also took out his ID card. Under everyone's gaze, the two officially set the duel time. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, North Star Starship Academy's number 2 Starship Simulation Duel Arena. Since everything is confirmed, please take your lackeys and get out. Don't disturb our classmates' studies. Zhao Chen issued an eviction notice. Zhang Haoren's followers glared, each with eyes wide in anger. This good-for-nothing Zhao Chen actually dared to curse them. Zhang Haoren stopped his followers. Now that the duel date was set, there was no need to waste more words here. He just needed to wait until the duel, win it in front of everyone, and then he could make this barren lose face and drop out in disgrace. Then I'll be looking forward to a wonderful battle tomorrow. Don't disappear again when the time comes. Zhang Haoren didn't forget to provoke him one last time, then turned and left with his people. Zhao Chen calmly returned to his seat. The other students in the classroom were discussing animatedly at this moment, but most of them were cold remarks. Zhao Chen is really crazy. What ability does he have to duel Zhang Haoren? It's not even certain if he has a starship. I heard that Zhang Haoren has a brand new T2 starship. It's one thing for Zhao Chen to lose face and drop out, but it's his fault for making our class 8 also lose face and be embarrassed. Zhao Chen turned a deaf ear to these words. Only the outcome could shut these people up. Li Wei sat next to Zhao Chen, just about to speak, when someone else spoke first. If a person doesn't have enough strength, then whatever he does is wrong. After all, you are a member of our Class 8, and I don't want you to be nailed to the pillar of shame. Your sister is a genius student. Using her connections, should be able to resolve this matter. Shen Bing stood in front of Zhao Chen and said coldly. Zhao Chen looked at the beautiful class president from a commoner background. Class president, you don't believe I can win either? What do you think? Shen Bing retorted unceremoniously. Zhao Chen shrugged. Then let's wait and see. Seeing that she couldn't persuade him, the indifference in Shen Bing's eyes grew stronger, and she turned and left. Old Zhao, are you really going to duel Zhang Haoren? Li Wei looked at Zhao Chen seriously. Confirmed, certain, and not denied. Zhao Chen was already getting tired of such questions. For the convenience of future actions, it's time to show off my strength. Li Wei looked at Zhao Chen. He felt that his brother's temper seemed to have changed greatly since a month ago, Since you've decided, then how about this? Tomorrow, you use my T2 hyena for the battle. My executive officer is a starship captain with 20 years of Imperial Army T2 starship combat experience. You just need to hand everything over to him. You don't have to worry. I have a starship. Zhao Chen said helplessly. Those 3 broken starships you exchanged, how could they possibly win? Li Wei looked at Zhao Chen, who couldn't be persuaded and was really anxious. Zhao Chen knew it was useless to explain to Li Wei now, so he said no more, found an excuse, and left the classroom. Now, probably no one believed that Zhao Chen would win this duel. Then Zhao Chen would just have to win and show them. The next day, the North Star Starship Academy's affiliated number 3 Starship Duel Zone had already been arranged. This was a star sector located on the outskirts of the North Star Starship Academy, consisting of dozens of abandoned, barren asteroids. It was specifically used for starship simulation battles or starship duels at the North Star Starship Academy. At this moment, this duel was also being broadcast live on the Academy's internal network, which was standard practice for starship duels. Class 8 classroom. Someone specifically tuned into the broadcast channel, projecting it holographically in the center of the classroom. When will Zhao Chen and Zhang Haoren's duel begin? I saw the announcement. It's scheduled for 10 o'clock, and it's already 10 o'clock. According to the duel regulations, both starships must arrive at the battle zone within half an hour of the stipulated time. Look quickly. That must be Zhang Haoren's starship. It's actually a T2 Bald Eagle-class light interstellar cruiser. That's the Starlight Empire's most excellent T2 class interstellar cruiser. Its speed is second only to the T2 interstellar frigate of the same class. I heard that the current price of this T2 Bald Eagle is at least 7 million star coins, and it's currently hard to find on the market. You might not even be able to buy it if you want to. It's over. Zhao Chen is finished this time. The students of Class 8 were all pessimistic about Zhao Chen at this moment. With a starship displayed there, how could he fight? Could it be that Zhao Chen could still produce a starship even more excellent than this one? Class monitor Xin Bing stared at the T2 Bald Eagle-class light interstellar cruiser, but she didn't have the envious expression of the other students because she had studied this starship and considered it a flashy but impractical product. Its only advantage was speed. Other than that, its configuration could only be considered a modded interstellar destroyer. Because it was a light starship, its hull armor wasn't too high, and its firepower didn't meet the standard T2 interstellar cruiser level. However, in a single starship duel, as long as the T2 Bald Eagle's captain commanded meticulously enough, he could completely use a kiting combat style, relying on high speed to defeat most starships. But in a real interstellar battlefield, facing fleet-level combat, it would basically be of little use. Class monitor, tell me, does Zhao Chen still have a chance to win? Xin Bing's best friend leaned next to her and asked curiously. Xin Bing's position as class monitor wasn't due to her beauty as a class flower. It was because she was the most outstanding student in Class 8. If it weren't for her ordinary background, she could have easily entered one of the higher-ranked classes. Despite this, in the past 3 years of theoretical exams, Xin Bing had always been among the top 10 in her grade. She was known as the commoner scholar. Very low, Xin Bing said indifferently. Then he was still so high-spirited yesterday. Isn't this just slapping himself in the face? If I were him, I'd probably have already run back to my territory by now and honestly lived as a useless barren. Her best friend mocked him unceremoniously. At this moment, there were also many cold remarks in the class. Because Class 8 was a commoner class, most of the students here were from commoner backgrounds or interstellar trade families. Only Zhao Chen was an exception. Zhao Chen's identity, among the nobles, was ridiculed and looked down upon. Among these commoner students, he was an irritating presence, so naturally, everyone rejected this barren student. Xin Bing didn't speak. She recalled Zhao Chen's expression from yesterday. He was truly confident at the time. Was it just his arrogance? Why hasn't Zhao Chen's starship appeared yet? There's less than 15 minutes left until the half-hour deadline. This brat wouldn't have really run away, would he? Damn it, I don't care if he loses or not, but this is embarrassing for our Class 8. Forget it, forget it. Anyway, if he loses, we won't have to see that guy's grim face next semester. The Class 8 students teased and scoffed. Bang! A loud sound came. It was Li Wei. He slammed his fist on the wall, scanning everyone in the classroom with cold eyes. Everyone who met Li Wei's gaze averted their eyes. Li Wei's status in Class 8 was considered the pinnacle. After all, he had a rich merchant father. No matter what, Zhao Chen is a student of our Class 8. It's fine if you don't cheer for your classmate, but you're still here making sarcastic remarks. Where's the camaraderie you learned in your military literacy class? Li Wei angrily rebuked. The students in the classroom didn't directly answer Li Wei, but many were whispering, and most of what they said wasn't anything good. Cough, cough, cough. At this moment, a voice came from Li Wei's side. It was the teacher for this class. All right, it's time for class. All of you, return to your seats. The teacher glanced at Li Wei, walked into the classroom, and stood at the podium, preparing for the upcoming lesson. Li Wei clenched his fist, silently returning to his seat. He was very concerned about Zhao Chen, but he hadn't been able to contact Zhao Chen since this morning. Look quickly. That strange-looking starship could be Zhao Chen's starship. Someone suddenly exclaimed. Everyone's gaze gathered on the holographic broadcast window. In the universe, where only the T2 bald eagle had been, another starship slowly sailed in. The hull adopted the most ordinary iron-colored paint, and compared to Zhang Haoran's T2 bald eagle, this starship's exterior was dilapidated, and some areas even clearly showed patches. What kind of starship is this? I don't recognize it. It looks like an interstellar battleship, but the weapons aren't the caliber an interstellar battleship should have. This dilapidated starship, I estimate that one shot from Zhang Haoran's T2 bald eagle would blast it to smithereens. Seeing this strange starship, the students of Class 8 all regarded it as trash. Shenbing, you're good at studying. Do you recognize what kind of starship this is? Her best friend asked Shenbing again. Shenbing examined it carefully, frowning. This starship has structural features of 3 starships. T2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer, T2 Devil Crocodile-class medium interstellar battleship, and T2 Grey Wolf-class light star cruiser. Could this be an assembled starship? An assembled starship? Zhao Chen wants to use an assembled starship to defeat a T2 bald eagle? He must be dreaming. Her best friend said mockingly. Shenbing stared at this old assembled starship, not speaking. Class is starting. Turn off irrelevant things. What's most important for you now is to study, not to do unimportant things. Be honest and down to earth. The teacher then announced the start of class, but his words always seemed to hide something. Li Wei clenched his fist, feeling indignant. The holographic video in the classroom was also turned off. Li Wei really wanted to know the outcome of Zhao Chen and Zhang Haoran's battle, but his grades were not like Zhao Chen's. Skipping class for a month wouldn't necessarily lead to being held back, but he had to attend every class. The only words Zhao Chen had left him before were not to worry, to focus on class, and to wait for his good news. But in this situation, who could focus on class? It wasn't just him. Many people in Class 8 were actually curious. They weren't curious about the result, but about how Zhao Chen would lose. He would probably lose very badly. Number 3 Starship Dual Zone Dual Arbitration Area. This is a small space hub, specifically responsible for the arbitration of the Number 3 Starship Dual Zone, and also the first spectator area. The number of people was less than 100, but today's audience had the most beautiful scenery, because the 3 famous beauties of North Star Starship Military Academy were all present. Your brother is really coming? A playful lowly, less than 1.5 meters tall, with twin ponytails, covered her mouth and said in surprise. Zhao Wanner's expression was complex. He has no other special qualities. It's just that his personality is particularly stubborn. Is that the starship you mentioned before that your brother assembled himself? It can actually still move. Beside her, a tall, ice-cold beauty with waist-length hair, her arms crossed, said indifferently, assembling 3 old starships into 1 starship in a month, and it can still start and sail smoothly. Your brother is quite good at starship engineering. Zhao Wanner looked at the ice-cold beauty, biting her red lips lightly, Sister Sulan, if my brother really loses, could I trouble you to talk to that Zhang Haoran then to withdraw the bet? These two were her good friends. The twin-tailed lowly was her classmate, Xue Xiao Xiao. The ice-cold beauty in front of her was her senior, Sulan. Sulan's background was quite prominent. It was said that even the dean in the academy had to give her some face. If it was before the duel, it might be easier. But if it's after the duel, Sulan frowned slightly, seeing Zhao Wanner's pleading face, feeling a bit distressed. She said helplessly, "It should be fine not to expel your brother, but he will inevitably be humiliated by that Zhang Haoran then. As long as he's not expelled, Zhao Wanner nodded repeatedly, happily holding Sulan's arm. I knew you were the best, Sister Sulan. Wanner, your brother hasn't even fought yet. How do you know he lost? What if he wins? The twin-tailed lowly beside her muttered. Zhao Wanner said, how could he possibly win? What kind of starship is my brother's, and what kind is his? A T2 bald Eagle-class light interstellar cruiser worth 7 million star coins. Among the starships owned by students in our academy, in terms of one-on-one combat capability, it's a type of starship that can rank in the top 10. She looked at the assembled starship with a complex gaze. She also hoped her brother could win, but it was simply impossible. Just then, the arbitration team had already begun to contact the captains of the two starships, and 2 video screens appeared before the arbitration team. On one side was the bridge image of the T2 bald eagle. Zhang Haoran, dressed in a lavish military uniform, sat in the captain's chair. It wasn't a regular military uniform. It was likely an outfit Zhang Haoran had gotten from somewhere. Beside him stood a middle-aged man of 40 or 50, whose demeanor indicated he was a retired military officer. The bridge scene on the other side appeared much shabbier. Zhao Chen sat in an old captain's chair with a faint smile. Behind him was a white-haired half-beastman girl, with visible, hideous scars on her face and a cold expression. Is that a half-beastman? The twin-tailed lowly exclaimed. Zhao Wanner covered her face, saying helplessly, after my brother assembled his starship, he didn't have much funds, so he could only buy a batch of half-beastman slaves to serve as his crew. Half-beastman crew? Sulan frowned slightly, now feeling increasingly that her good friend's brother was truly unreliable. The duel participants are Zhang Haoran, a student from Class 2 of the 3rd year, and Zhao Chen, a student from Class 8 of the 3rd year. Aside from not being allowed to leave the duel area, the rules are unrestricted dueling. The outcome of the battle is determined by one side's starship surrendering, or the starship losing its combat capability, or the arbitration team declaring a loss. Once the arbitration team announces the final result, the battle ends immediately, and no further attacks of any kind are permitted. Do both duel participants understand clearly? A middle-aged male chief referee announced. Understood, Zhang Haoran said with a sneer. He could now see Zhao Chen in the video window opposite him. He hadn't expected this guy to actually dare to appear before him. And driving such a dilapidated starship, he was sure to win this duel. Understood. Zhao Chen, however, was calm and composed, even taking a moment to yawn, as if the impending events were of no importance to him. The arbitration team will randomly select a spawn point for both starships in the dual starfield. You must arrive at the spawn point within 10 minutes, at which point the arbitration team will announce the start of the battle. After the chief referee finished speaking, he pressed a device. Soon, 2 circles, one blue and one red, appeared on the star map of the duel area. These were the spawn points for both sides. Both starships also received this location information and began to sail towards the designated area. At this moment, Zhang Haoran mocked Zhao Chen through the video window. He clapped his hands and said, Zhao Chen, I admire your courage. I didn't expect you to actually dare to come. Where did you dig up this dilapidated starship? Its hull armor looks like it would shatter with a touch. Would it be a bit cruel if I blew up your starship with one cannon shot then? A sinister smile appeared on Zhang Haoran's face. After all, killing the opponent in a starship duel does not violate the rules. Zhao Chen stretched and picked his ear. Are you done talking? If you're done, you can consider booking a flight home. Zhang Haoran's mouth twitched. He pointed at Zhao Chen. You really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Good. I will soon let you taste what the difference in strength is. You, Zhao Chen, are just a useless baron, while I am someone who will become a viscount or even an earl. The video windows for both sides were cut off by the arbitration team at this point. Zhang Haoran looked at the executive officer Wang, the crew member his father had arranged for him. Executive Officer Wang, I want you to play with that guy's starship until it dies, like playing with a mouse. Wang Cheng was the executive officer hired by Zhang Haoran's father, a former starship captain in the Imperial Army. He raised his head and said confidently, Young Master Zhang, please rest assured, I guarantee you that dilapidated starship won't be returning to port. The starship he commanded was a T-2 Bald Eagle, a top-tier high-speed starship among T-2 starships, although it had significant flaws in an interstellar battlefield. But in a starship duel like this, against a mere academy student and a dilapidated starship, he had a myriad of ways to play with it until it died. On the other side, the bridge of Blizzard Zero. Zhao Chen looked at his executive officer, Charlotte. Charlotte, do you have confidence? The battle will end in 10 minutes. If it takes one more minute, I'll take your surname. Charlotte said indifferently. Her expression was as if she had no interest in this battle at all. Zhao Chen, however, was a little excited. He touched the somewhat antique armrest of the captain's chair. This would be his first starship battle. Combat begins. At the same time, the voice of the chief referee announcing the start of the battle echoed through the bridges of both the Blizzard Zero and the T-2 Bald Eagle-class light interstellar cruiser. In the dual arbitration zone, those supporting Zhang Haoran cheered excitedly. Go, young Master Zhang. Young Master Zhang. Teach that overconfident guy a good lesson. I hope that Zhao Chen can struggle a bit longer. Otherwise, if the battle ends in a few minutes, it would be too much of a waste for us who specially came to watch, wouldn't it? Haha. These speakers were all Zhang Haoran's cronies, and they completely believed that the victory of this starship duel belonged to Zhang Haoran. Among the spectators, Jiang Shasha was naturally present. She coldly watched the broadcast video, which was transmitted via battlefield drones. It showed both starships departing from their birthplaces and beginning to advance towards the enemy starship's direction, assuming their courses remained unchanged. After 10 minutes, both starships would enter each other's firing range. Zhao Chen, this time you're overestimating yourself. If you get expelled, you'll be reaping what you sow. Don't blame me, Jiang Shasha thought to herself. In her mind, this duel naturally had no suspense. Besides Zhang Haoran winning, were there any other possibilities? Blizzard Zero Bridge. Maintain a cruising speed of 40 knots in the current direction of travel. Vice Captain Charlotte, under Zhao Chen's authorization, was now responsible for the combat deployment of this starship. 40 knots? You're planning to play dumb to catch a big fish, Zhao Chen said with a light chuckle, looking at Charlotte. Charlotte said indifferently, I just don't want to waste time on trivial matters. Zhao Chen, feeling bored, raised his hand and pulled up the data page for the Blizzard Zero via holographic projection. Blizzard Zero. Ship type, Star Cruiser, Interstellar Destroyer, Interstellar Battleship. Technology level, T2. Hull armor strength, 210 units, 270 units. Cruising speed, 100 knots. Warp drive, level 3 warp drive. Mass, 85,000 tons. Crew capacity, 50 people. Starship weapons, 1 T2 heavy 1,200 millimeters Devil Alligator Cannon, 1 shot at a time, 300-second interval. 5 T2 medium Hyena laser cannons, 1 shot at a time, 180-second interval. 30 T2 medium 130 millimeters CIWS turrets, 2 shots at a time, no interval. The 3 types of weapons equipped on the Blizzard Zero, the latter 2 were directly mounted on the hull surface, while the first one had a hidden design. This was a trick Zhao Chen had up his sleeve. Can I guess your combat plan? Zhao Chen rubbed his chin, looking at Charlotte. You are the captain. You can reclaim my command at any time. Here, your words are oracle, Vice Captain Charlotte said. Zhao Chen raised his hand and opened another, slightly simpler, starship data file. It was for the opposing T-2 Bald Eagle. The T-2 Bald Eagle's weapon systems primarily consist of three types: 5 T-2 medium 180mm rapid-fire cannons with a 10-second interval, then 20 T-2 medium 150mm quad-barreled CIWS turrets, firing 4 shots at a time with no interval. Its main weapon is 1 T-2 medium white-headed Eagle laser main cannon, firing 1 shot at a time with a 210-second interval. Zhao Chen's eyes gleamed. First, our advantage lies in the fact that they have no understanding of our starship's performance. You just order to maintain a speed of 40 knots, which is to create a false impression for the opponent that our starship's maximum speed is only around 40 knots. But when the actual engagement begins, we'll surprise them. The T-2 Bald Eagle's 5 T-2 medium 180mm rapid-fire cannons have good destructive power, but their range isn't far. The only real threat to us is their laser main cannon. So at that time, we can seize the opportunity. When the enemy's laser main cannon fires, we can suddenly accelerate and pull away, evading their attack. The trajectory of the laser main cannon's attack is predictable, and the time it takes to hit is also enough for us to dodge. Once this laser main cannon enters its charging and cooldown period, that's when we can bully them. Charlotte looked at Zhao Chen. You didn't waste your time at the military academy. I've never seen a starship among T-2 starships that can reach 100 knots. That's why I previously evaluated this Blizzard Zero as an undefeated starship within T-2. Having predicted the general combat plan, Zhao Chen leisurely sat in the captain's chair, waiting for the show to begin. Soon, the Blizzard Zero and the T-2 Bald Eagle appeared within each other's starship radar detection range. Charlotte glanced at the time and muttered, 10:45. At the same time, she set a countdown, which was holographically projected between her and Zhao Chen. Countdown 10 o'clock. This girl was serious. She had told Zhao Chen earlier that the battle would end in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, the T-2 Bald Eagle also made a move. Report, target detected. The target is approaching our position at a speed of about 40 knots, the radar officer reported. Full speed ahead. Blast that shabby starship, Zhang Haoran said excitedly. Executive Officer Wang Chung glanced at Zhang Haoran. Logically, advancing at full speed without understanding the enemy starship's performance was a major taboo on the interstellar battlefield. But then he thought about how the opponent was just a student, and that odd-looking starship really didn't look impressive from the outside. The weapons equipped on its hull weren't much to look at either. Presumably, there wasn't much threat. Moreover, this T-2 Bald Eagle had a high speed of 65 knots. So if any unexpected situation arose, they could completely rely on their high speed to react accordingly. Captain's order. Our ship will proceed at full speed towards the target, and all weapons are to enter standby mode. Although this was an order directly issued by Wang Chung, he still gave face to Zhang Haoran, using Zhang Haoran's name, as he was working for him after all. Use our T-2 laser main cannon. Once we're within attack range, give them a shot first to let them witness the power gap between starship and starship. Ha ha ha. I estimate that Zhao Chen will be so scared he'll fall off the captain's chair then. Zhang Haoran seemed to have already envisioned Zhao Chen's comically frightened expression. Yes, Executive Officer Wang Chung had no objection to this arrangement, as this was merely a duel with a predetermined outcome. Soon, both starships were about to enter their maximum firing range. Charlotte's eyes were fixed on the starship radar map, as if waiting for something. Warning, warning, detecting ongoing laser weapon attack. Warning, warning, detecting, warn. Zhao Chen noticed the slight upward curve of Charlotte's lips and the ripples appearing in her eyes, which had previously been as still as dead water. Full speed hard right. Vice Captain Charlotte barked. Dual arbitration zone. The audience watched the two starships heading toward each other, knowing that the clash between them was about to begin. Look, it's the laser main gun of the T-2 Bald Eagle-class light interstellar cruiser. It's about to fire. Zhao Chen better pray for himself. I reckon that scrap metal starship of his might not even be able to withstand this single shot. Look at Zhao Chen's unknown starship. What kind of weapons are on its hull? just dozens of close-in weapon systems and 5 T2 laser cannons. With that kind of firepower, how can he compete with the T2 bald eagle? The audience took on the posture of people watching a good show. Sitting in the corner, Zhao Chen clenched her fists in worry, her eyes filled with concern. The power of the T2 bald eagle's laser main gun isn't that staggering. If it hits at this distance, it would be a heavy blow at most. As long as your brother is sensible enough to admit defeat when the time comes, there won't be any danger, Senior Su Lan said from the side. She no longer believed Zhao Chen could win. She just hoped he would have the sense to surrender. She didn't care about the life or death of this man. She just didn't want to see her best friend heartbroken. Stubborn brother, you better be okay. As long as the Green Mountains remain, there's no fear of lacking firewood. Zhao Chen muttered to herself. Everyone saw from the broadcast screen that the T2 medium white-headed eagle laser main gun, equipped at the bow of Zhang Haoren's T2 bald eagle, was already flashing with electrical light, a sign of its imminent firing. A few seconds later, a beam of laser light shot out, heading straight for the target starship. But an unexpected scene occurred. At one end of the broadcast video, there were data readings for the dueling starships, including speed detection records. The Blizzard Zero, which had been traveling at 40 knots of star speed, actually began to turn right and accelerate. In less than 3 seconds, it accelerated directly from 40 knots to 80 knots. Its trajectory was like drawing an arc along the edge of a circle centered on the T2 bald eagle. This caused the laser beam to deviate, failing to hit the Blizzard Zero. The audience erupted in an uproar. What's going on? Was it my imagination just now? How did the Blizzard Zero's speed suddenly increase so much? A coincidence. It must be a coincidence. Or maybe our detection equipment malfunctioned. How could that scrap starship have a speed of 80 knots? That's impossible. Even the T2 bald eagle is only 65 knots. But how did it dodge that main gun laser from the T2 bald eagle? Facing this person's question, the crowd that had previously looked down on Zhao Chen fell into silence. What just happened? The twin-tailed lowly Shue Xiao Xiao stared with wide eyes at her two friends. 80 knots. How is it possible? Zhao Chen swallowed hard. Senior Su Lan's gaze also turned serious as she stared at the live broadcast. After completing an arc maneuver, the Blizzard Zero turned left again, pointing directly at the T2 bald eagle once more, while its speed continued to increase further. 85 knots. 90 knots. 95 knots. Everyone stared intently at the data column monitoring the Blizzard Zero's speed. Finally, the speed settled at 100 knots. Incredible. Unbelievable. This was the thought in everyone's mind. Even the mentors in the judging panel showed surprised expressions. It wasn't that T2 starships couldn't reach 100 knots, but those were rare starships or specially modified ones. That plain-looking assembled starship could actually surge to 100 knots. How? Is this possible? At this moment, on the Blizzard Zero, Zhao Chen had no time to pay attention to the audience's curiosity. His breathing was a bit rapid. Just now, his eyes had been glued to the radar star map, watching the laser's attack trajectory graze past the stern of the Blizzard Zero, although the distance seemed quite far. But according to the Starship system's calculations, if they had been just 1 second slower, their Blizzard Zero could have been hit. While it wouldn't have been destroyed in one shot, hull damage would have been inevitable. Courtesy demands reciprocity. It's time to strike back. Reveal our 1,200 millimeters caliber giant cannon. Let's get him. Zhao Chen was somewhat excited. He stood up abruptly, placed one foot on the captain's chair, and pointed forward. Vice Captain Charlotte issued the order. Target the enemy ship and proceed at full speed. Simultaneously, activate the T2 Heavy 1,200 millimeters Devil Crocodile Cannon. Understood. Proceeding at full speed. Activating the T2 Heavy 1,200 millimeters Devil Crocodile Cannon. It will take 10 seconds. 10. At the bow of the Blizzard Zero, a hatch suddenly appeared. As it opened, a dark, gaping barrel was revealed. Now everyone in the audience could no longer sit still. They all stood up, Even several mentors stood up in disbelief. A middle-aged mentor said in surprise that that's the 1,200 millimeters caliber cannon from a T-2 Devil Crocodile class medium interstellar battleship. How could it appear on the starship? Bring up this student's records in the academy for me. The chief judge ordered the person beside him. A record was quickly brought up. The chief judge looked at the records and had a sudden realization. T2 Gray Wolf, T2 Devil Crocodile, T2 Hyena, it all matches. This guy actually used these 3 types of starships to assemble one, and even installed the T2 Devil Crocodile's bow main gun onto his starship. Some sharp-eared students in the audience behind him heard this. My God, it's actually the bow main gun of a T2 Devil Crocodile class medium interstellar battleship. T2 Devil Crocodile class medium interstellar battleship? What kind of starship is that? I told you to study harder. This is a T2 interstellar battleship released a century ago. At that time, in pursuit of heavy firepower, that it directly installed the largest caliber of that time on this interstellar battleship. This 1,200 millimeters bow giant cannon, which is a type of cannon. Legend has it that its power is such that any T2 starship would find it difficult to withstand a single shot. 1,200 millimeters caliber. Isn't that a configuration only found on T3 starships? Then why haven't I heard of this starship before? Because it had significant design flaws. While focusing on firepower, they didn't consider whether the other system modules of a T2 starship could meet the needs of such a powerful weapon system. It frequently suffered from various malfunctions. Combined with the excessively high construction costs, several tens of % higher than an ordinary T2 interstellar battleship, it was eventually discontinued less than 30 years after its release. Senior Sulan was also moved now. She looked at Zhao Wanner. You didn't say before that your brother installed this cannon on his starship? I'm not quite sure either. Zhao Wanner's expression was also very strange at this moment. What on earth was her brother up to? Giant cannon. Giant cannon. I love giant cannons the most. The twin-tailed Lal Shui Xiao Xiao, on the contrary, was jumping up and down, her eyes shining with excitement. Senior Su Lan and Zhao Wanner were both helpless at the sight. Shui Xiao Xiao's illness was acting up again. She had a severe giant cannon obsession and loved the combination of interstellar battleships and large-caliber giant cannons most of all. At this moment, under everyone's gaze, the Blizzard Zero was speeding towards the T2 Bald Eagle-class light interstellar cruiser at an astonishing speed. Looking at the gleaming 1,200 millimeters Devil Crocodile cannon, everyone guessed the Blizzard Zero's intention. Everyone held their breath, waiting for what was about to happen. Damn it! Why does that starship have a 1,200 millimeters Devil Crocodile cannon from a T2 Devil Crocodile class medium interstellar battleship? Full speed evasive maneuver. All close-in weapons systems prepare for interception. Executive Officer Wang Chung gave the order with a grim expression. The Executive Officer Wang. What's going on? That damned massive cannon and that broken starship speed. We won't be in danger, right? The victory of this battle still belongs to us, right? Zhang Haoran's face was pale now. Although he was a profligate son, he had, after all, studied at the Starship Military Academy for 3 years. He still knew some basic knowledge, a 1,200 millimeters caliber massive cannon. Its power. Executive Officer Wang Chung didn't answer because any clear-headed person could see the current situation. Their laser main cannon was in the cooling and charging phase, and the remaining secondary weapons were not yet within attack range. At the same time, the enemy starship had reached a speed of nearly 100 knots, and that 1,200 millimeters caliber cannon was revealed. Their T2 Bald Eagle had become prey under the hunter's gun. Their only prayer was that the opponent's attack would preferably not hit their starship, and then they could counterattack. Perhaps there was still hope. But just thinking about the enemy starship's terrifying speed of 100 knots, the psychological shadow area of Executive Officer Wang Chung was quite large. Damn it. Isn't this the military academy? Isn't the opponent a fallen noble? Why can he possess a starship with a speed of 100 knots? Blizzard Zero Bridge. In 1 minute, we will enter the extreme range of the enemy's secondary weapons attack range. Before that, we will fire first. Charlotte looked at Captain Zhao and said, I'll directly control the aiming. You give the fire command. No problem, Zhao Chen nodded. I'll take over the aiming of the devil crocodile cannon. Charlotte took over the firing preparations. In 40 seconds, the starship speed will drop to 0. Yes. In 40 seconds, reduce speed. The crew member responsible for navigation responded. Why lower the speed? When a starship fires, is the hit rate higher when it's in motion or when it's stationary? The answer is self-evident. 40 seconds passed in a blink of an eye. The crew member immediately began operations. Beginning to reduce speed, engine reverse thrust system activated. Current speed 80, 60, 40, 25. Report. Starship's current speed is 0. Starship is in a stationary state. Over. From 100 knots to 0 knots. The Blizzard Zero only took less than 5 seconds. This once again refreshed the perception of the students and instructors in the audience. The engine's acceleration and deceleration capabilities were simply too strong. And at this moment, everyone clearly knew what was about to happen. Charlotte was now checking the starship's weapon system's automatic targeting data. The 1,200mm Devil Crocodile cannon had already aimed at the T-2 Bald Eagle. After confirming everything was correct, she said, Report to Captain Zhao. Lock complete. Ready to fire. Fire. Zhao Chen's roar echoed throughout the entire bridge. This feeling was truly exhilarating. Almost simultaneously, this 1,200mm heavy Devil Crocodile cannon, after more than 80 years, roared again. A 1,200mm diameter titanium alloy, high explosive shell shot out of the barrel at an extremely fast speed. At the moment of firing, Zhao Chen could even feel the entire bridge vibrate. If observed from the outside, it will be noticed that this shot directly caused the Blizzard Zero to shift backward by tens of meters and its bow slightly lifted. At the same time, the chemical smoke that had not yet dissipated from the muzzle of the 1,200mm heavy Devil Crocodile cannon could be seen. Warning! 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 Attack targeting this starship detected. Please evade. Please evade. Please evade. Warning. 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 Attack targeting this starship detected. Please evade. Please evade. Please evade. Warning. 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 Attack targeting this starship detected. Please evade. Please evade. Please evade. The bridge of the T-2 Bald Eagle flashed red, and system warnings sounded incessantly. All starship close-in weapons systems. Fire barges for interception. Quick, quick, quick. Executive Officer Wang Chung hurriedly issued the interception command. The 150mm T-2 medium quadruple close-in weapon systems mounted on the T-2 Bald Eagle were now firing at full power, forming a dense interception barrage net. Unfortunately, these small-caliber close-in weapons system barges were facing a massive cannon with a diameter of 1,200mm. It was completely like a praying mantis trying to stop a chariot. Boom! A deafening sound echoed in the bridge of the white-headed eagle, and the entire bridge began to tilt to one side. Zhang Haoren's body was directly sent flying 3 meters away, his head hitting a corner hard, blood streaming down his face. He slumped to the ground, clutching his bleeding head, and said in horror, What's going on? Am I going to die? I don't want to die yet. Mom, save me. Executive Officer Wang Chung couldn't care less about this pampered young master now. He didn't even know the basic common sense of steadying himself during shelling. Report, the port side armor of the hull has been penetrated, and it also detonated a munition room on the left, causing a sympathetic detonation. This directly affected 37 compartments, which have been sealed off. 8 crew members are dead. The number of injured is unknown. Report, the sympathetic detonation just now affected our starship's energy system, and the energy supply is dropping at a rate of 10% per minute. If the situation is not controlled, it is estimated that the starship will completely lose energy supply within 10 minutes. Report: our weapon system is malfunctioning. Some weapon modules are unusable. Report: our starship speed is continuously decreasing and cannot be controlled. The entire bridge was now filled with various bad news. How could this happen? Executive Officer Wang Cheng's expression was astonished. He hadn't expected a single enemy shell to have such an effect. Currently, the T-2 Bald Eagle was in a severely damaged state. Continuing to fight would very likely result in the destruction of the starship and loss of life. Young Master Zhang, we lost. Let's surrender. Executive Officer Wang Cheng walked up to Zhang Haoran and said in a deep voice, Lost. How is that possible? How could this happen? Aren't you an excellent captain? My dad paid to hire you. How could you lose for me? Don't you know if I lose, I'll have to drop out of North Star? You trash. Because the explosion had stopped, Zhang Haoran recovered from his panic. He staggered to his feet and slapped Executive Officer Wang Cheng directly. Executive Officer Wang Cheng lowered his head and said nothing. Just then, various explosion sounds echoed through the hull again. What's going on? Zhang Haoran immediately cowered and squatted on the ground again. He looked up at the floor-to-ceiling window in front of the bridge. The T-2 Bald Eagle's bridge used a 100 degrees viewing angle special material glass window, which allowed direct viewing of the cosmic scenery. This type of bridge glass window was not ordinary glass. Its strength even exceeded the starship's hull armor and could be said to be one of the strongest defensive areas of the starship. However, it was expensive, so only a few areas were equipped with it. And at this moment, spiderweb-like cracks appeared on this bridge floor-to-ceiling window. Report: the enemy starship is rapidly approaching our starship, and the enemy starship's secondary weapons are causing damage to our starship. The crew member hurriedly reported. Report: hull frontal armor damage reached 20%. Report: hull frontal armor damage reached 40%. Crack. Whether it was psychological or not, Zhang Haoran seemed to hear the sound of glass breaking. He had already imagined his miserable state after the bridge's floor-to-ceiling window completely shattered. At this moment, he felt a chill in his lower body. He cried out in panic, I surrender. Arbitration zone. All the mentors, audience, and students were stunned. One-shot kill. Blizzard Zero's single cannon shot actually heavily damaged the T-2 Bald Eagle-class light interstellar cruiser, almost causing it to fall. They could clearly see a large hole, at least 10 meters in diameter, blown open on the T-2 Bald Eagle's starboard armor, with flashes of secondary explosions occasionally visible inside. And Blizzard Zero's subsequent pursuit continued to damage the T-2 Bald Eagle's front armor. If the battle continued, there would only be one outcome. At this point, the referee team was already preparing to make a mandatory judgment, as the outcome was already obvious. And at this moment, the T-2 Bald Eagle had already surrendered. The chief referee immediately announced that the winner of this starship duel was Zhao Chen's Blizzard Zero. At the same time, he immediately contacted Zhao Chen, ordering his starship to cease attack. This starship is too strong, isn't it? Zhang Haoran just lost like that? So this is Zhao Chen won. Many people were speechless for a long time. This included Jiang Sha, whose expression was dazed, her eyes wide open. Zhao Chen won? Zhao Chen's dilapidated starship won against Zhang Haoran's T-2 Bald Eagle? Recalling Zhao Chen's indifference towards her in the restaurant earlier, Jiang Sha felt a very unpleasant sensation in her heart at this moment, especially after Zhao Chen won this battle. Zhao Chen actually won. A friend who came with Jiang Sha looked at her with a strange expression. My eyes aren't blind, Jiang Sha said with a gloomy face, taking one last look at the strange starship on the broadcast screen, then turned and left the audience area, preparing to return to the academy. Sha, aren't you waiting for young Master Zhang? Wait for me. While some people were in a bad mood, others were in a very good mood. See that? A massive cannon is the only truth. Warner, your brother's ship is truly amazing. When can you talk to your brother and let me go up and see it? Preferably, I'd like to touch your brother's 1,200 millimeters caliber massive cannon. The twin-tailed lowly shui, Xiao Xiao, looked at Zhao Wanner with shining eyes. Zhao Wanner's expression at this moment was one of shock and disbelief. It's over already? From a moment the two starships entered combat range to the end of the battle, less than 5 minutes had passed. The most important thing was that one-shot kill, which no one had expected. This shot made the battle end so quickly. The T2 Bald Eagle's hull armor is inherently weak, and what's more, it was facing a starship equipped with the T2 Heavy 1,200 millimeters Devil Alligator cannon. As long as it hits the hull armor, the outcome is basically quite severe, directly penetrating the armor and causing cabin explosions. This might be your brother's good luck. But I have to say, this assembled starship is truly strong, with an incredible speed of 100 knots. Senior Sulan offered her assessment from the side, smiling as she looked at Zhao Wanner. It seems your brother won't need my help after all. At this moment, Senior Su Lan's impression of her friend's brother had greatly changed, and she even developed some curiosity. To be able to assemble such a starship from 3 old starships within a month, that third-year student named Zhao Chen is quite capable. While Blizzard Zero was astonishing everyone, Zhao Chen excitedly waved his fist on his bridge. Holy cow! It was a one-shot kill. We were lucky. It must have hit the enemy ship's ammunition room, causing a secondary explosion. It affected multiple system modules of the hull. Charlotte analyzed from the side. This was also why she had just ordered a direct high-speed advance and continued to attack. With such a good opportunity, as a seasoned veteran, how could she not press the advantage and secure victory? Luck? Zhao Chen thought of the special reward fleet luck bonus that the system had given him earlier. Because of this reward, he could only recruit female soldiers. Thinking about it this way, this one-shot kill should be related to that. If every shot from now on is a one-shot kill, wouldn't that be awesome? Zhao Chen fantasized in his mind. As for whether this setting is true, it can only be verified in future battles. Zhao Chen, you have won. Please immediately cease all offensive actions. The chief referee's voice rang out. Understood, Zhao Chen replied. Looking at the battered T2 Bald Eagle, the pierced hull no longer showed fire, but thick smoke could still be seen. It was probably impossible for it to return on its own. It would have to wait for an interstellar tugboat to help. Chief referee, can I connect to the T2 Bald Eagle's video communication? Zhao Chen made a request. The chief referee on the other side of the video window hesitated for a moment, but ultimately agreed to the request. Because as the referee team, they had the right to conduct video communications with both starships at any time. Soon, a video window appeared before Zhao Chen, showing a messy bridge on the other side, with thick smoke and some broken components scattered everywhere, a complete contrast to the previously bright and clean bridge. Captain Zhang Howard was sitting on the ground, his face pale, and there was even a puddle of water beneath his bottom. Puffed. Zhang Howard, you actually peed yourself. When Zhao Chen's voice echoed on Zhang Howard's bridge, he finally noticed the communication window. He pointed at Zhao Chen in shame and anger. Zhao Chen, you cheated. You couldn't possibly win against me. You must have cheated. The chief referee is listening to what we are saying. You are accusing me of cheating now. Are you doubting the impartiality and strictness of the referee team? Zhao Chen teased. The chief referee, who was responsible for connecting this video communication, said coldly, Student Zhang Howard, we monitored this starship duel throughout, and there were no problems whatsoever. If you have any objections to our judgment, you can report it to our superiors. Student Zhao Chen, if there's nothing else, let's end this communication here. It was clear that the chief referee had a very poor impression of this playboy. Chief referee, one last thing. Zhao Chen looked at Zhang Howard and said lightly, the duel is over. Young Master Zhang shouldn't have forgotten our bet, right? That was recognized by the Academy. Zhang Howard, according to your Starship Duel Agreement, you will withdraw from the North Star Starship Military Academy. Are you clear on this? The chief referee did not forget to add a finishing blow at this moment. Clear on. Understood. Zhang Haoren was crestfallen. If he really withdrew from the North Star Starship Military Academy, he would be finished. His Viscount father would surely kill him. The video communication ended. Zhao Chen had no interest in dealing with this defeated opponent. Return to base. Zhao Chen sat in the captain's chair, feeling incredibly comfortable. And the commotion surrounding this interstellar duel was far from over. Class 3, Grade 8. Today's lesson ends here. The teacher announced the end of class. At this moment, students immediately began frantically searching for the Starship Duel live broadcast channel, only to find that it had already been shut down. Why can't I find Zhao Chen and Zhang Haoren's Starship Duel anymore? A student nearby chuckled. Come on, look how much time has passed. Zhao Chen was probably defeated by Zhang Haoren long ago. That was a T2 bald eagle after all. Yeah, this is Zhao Chen's own fault, trying to hit a rock with an egg, overestimating himself. This is good too. Our class will have one less eyesore from now on. Next year, there's a collective mission, and if we bring this guy along, our class will be in trouble. Many in the class were currently scoffing. Li Wei, with a dark expression, began to contact Zhao Chen. He was already thinking of various ways to help Zhao Chen. Wait, something's not right. Everyone, quickly look at our academy's intranet hot search list. A girl who loved browsing the intranet forum suddenly exclaimed. Zhao Chen, it seems he won. Zhao Chen won. Upon hearing the girl say this, the students in the classroom were all astonished. Those sitting further away even wondered if they had misheard. How could Zhao Chen win? Did you see it wrong? A male student asked with a chuckle. It was posted on the North Star Starship Military Academy's internal network forum. If you don't believe me, see for yourselves. The girl enlarged the holographic screen in front of her, allowing those around her to see. On the trending list, a post was climbing at an astonishing speed. The title read, Zhao Chen defeats Zhang Haoren to win the Starship Duel. A 1,200mm caliber heavy cannon appears, sending the T2 bald eagle away with a single shot. Besides this, there were actually several other related posts, but none had as much popularity as this one, because this post contained the entire video footage. It even included a close-up and detailed introduction of that 1,200mm caliber heavy cannon. Zhao Chen won? How is that possible? Some students still didn't believe it and asked the girl to open the duel video. Only 5 minutes? This video must be fake. A student noticed the video duration and immediately questioned it. Normally, a starship duel between ships of the same class would take at least half an hour, and some even involved hours of intense combat. How could it possibly be just 5 minutes? But the video footage that followed made all the students present shut their mouths. Even the teacher, who had been attracted by the commotion and hadn't left the classroom, gathered around to watch the holographic screen. From the Blizzard Zero using 100-knot star speed to high-speed evade the laser main cannon of the T2 bald Eagle-class interstellar cruiser, to the Blizzard Zero taking only 5 seconds to decelerate from 100-knot star speed to a stationary starship state, and all the spectacular scenes that followed. When the 1,200mm caliber giant cannon appeared, some of the boys in the classroom were filled with excitement. Then, seeing the giant cannon fire, a single shot directly hit and heavily damaged the T2 bald eagle. Everyone was shocked. Oh my god, how could this? How could Zhao Chen's starship have a 1,200mm caliber giant cannon? A student exclaimed. The teacher stepped forward, swallowed hard, and said with some surprise, if I'm not mistaken, this should be the T2 heavy 1,200mm caliber cannon mounted on the T2 Devil Crocodile class medium interstellar battleship. Upon hearing the teacher say this, the students began to discuss it animatedly. Even at this moment, some people still suspected that the video might be fake. It wasn't until someone pulled up the official announcement of today's Starship Duel results on the Academy's official Starship Duel channel that the authenticity of the matter was confirmed. Starship Duel number 303-006-2701 between Zhang Haoren and Zhao Chen. The winner is Zhao Chen. Even class monitor Shan Bing was using her handheld terminal to play the video, watching it repeatedly. Her eyes filled with disbelief. He had actually won. Holy crap. My brother is awesome. My brother won. Li Wei finally snapped out of his daze, looking as excited as if he were the one who had won. He pointed at the people in the classroom and said bluntly, "See that? This is my Li Wei's brother. You were all mocking him before, wishing my brother would get lost. And what happened? My brother took him out with one shot. That so-called Zhang Haoran isn't even fit to tie my brother's shoes. You bunch of snobs, go find somewhere cool to stay." After saying this, Li Wei didn't care about the ugly expressions on the class's faces and ran out directly. He wanted to find Zhao Chen and get the full story. This guy actually won. This guy must have been hiding something from him. After being mocked and humiliated by Li Wei, no one in the Class 8 classroom said a word. Even the teacher felt embarrassed because his previous attitude had been that Zhao Chen would undoubtedly lose, and now Li Wei's words felt like slaps directly to their faces. The Blizzard Zero was docked at the North Star Starship Military Academy starport, in a starship berth that Zhao Chen had booked early. Since the Blizzard Zero had basically sustained no damage to its hull during this battle, there was no need for any maintenance work. All right, mission accomplished. You are free to move around within the permitted areas of this starship. Zhao Chen patted Vice Captain Charlotte on the shoulder. In truth, Zhao Chen's gaze was fixed on Charlotte's fluffy head. He wanted to pet the white tiger beast woman to see how it felt, but that was just a thought. Charlotte's sharp tiger fangs were not just for show. As his gaze wandered, he saw that pair of white, broken ears. It was truly heartbreaking to look at, and it affected her overall appearance. Zhao Chen made up his mind again that in the future, he must repair Charlotte's body. After all, Charlotte was now his executive officer, so he would consider it a crew member benefit. Yes, Vice Captain Charlotte replied silently. Zhao Chen left the bridge and returned to his captain's bedroom. Walking into the captain's bedroom, the space was not small, covering an area of nearly 50 square meters. It had a bedroom, a living room, a desk, and even a bathroom where one could bathe. Even though it was the layout of an old starship from decades ago, the captain's accommodations were still quite good. Zhao Chen had seen the crew quarters of this starship. They were somewhat similar to bedrooms and schools from his previous life, but the space was even narrower. A single dormitory contained 6 triple-decker folding beds, accommodating 18 people. The aisle between the beds was less than a meter wide, and 18 people shared one restroom. That smell, even after decades, Zhao Chen still felt a lingering impression. Even on a starship, there was a major issue of insufficient space, so they had to compress the living space of ordinary crew members as much as possible. Of course, there were single and double dormitories specifically prepared for high-ranking starship officers. And now the situation was even more severe. After all, the dormitory area originally intended for 50 crew positions was now packed with 100 half-beastman crew members. Many half-beastman crew members had to sleep on the floor. So, by comparison, Zhao Chen's living environment was simply amazing. Phew! Zhao Chen threw himself onto the big bed. He enjoyed the comfort of the big bed for a few seconds before getting down to business. After defeating Zhang Haoran, Zhao Chen's previous mission system had already signaled completion, waiting for him to claim the mission rewards. Mission content: issue a starship duel challenge to Zhang Haoran and defeat Zhang Haoran in the duel. Mission difficulty: D rank. Mission reward: 1 mission point and 300 points. Failure penalty: deduct 300 points. Mission completed. Please claim the mission reward. Zhao Chen moved his mind. Mission reward claimed: 300 points and 1 mission point. At this moment, these rewards appeared on Zhao Chen's interface. Host: Zhao Chen. Profession: top starship engineer. Special attributes: fleet luck bonus, Eye of Insight. Points: 400. Mission points: 1. Starship count: 1. Mission: quarterly mission, incomplete. Warehouse: T3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser technical blueprints. The points had changed from the original 100 to 400, and there was also 1 extra mission point. I have a mission point now. Let me see if I can redeem some good stuff from the store. Zhao Chen opened the system store to search for targets. T1 Gray Rat Class Medium Interstellar Destroyer. T1 Shield Soldier Class Medium Interstellar Frigate. T1. Zhao Chen's excitement gradually faded. Scrolling further down, almost everything was T1 starships. The exchange conditions weren't high. 1 mission point and dozens of system points were enough to exchange for 8 T1 product. But the problem was, Zhao Chen didn't fancy these T1 starships. Although, according to Zhao Chen's understanding, these system starships all surpass their counterparts of the same class and type in reality, making them extremely cost-effective starships. However, no matter how cost-effective or powerful, they were still T1 starships. The old starships Zhao Chen had assembled were already T2 class starships, so how could he possibly build a T1 class starship again? But the problem was, currently, the mall only sold T1 technology level products. Let's see how to upgrade it. If it's T2 class, it's fine, but T1 class is really too weak. Zhao Chen immediately searched for how to upgrade the system mall. T1 system mall upgrade conditions. First, exchange 1 T1 class item, not completed. Second, complete 1 D class system mission, completed. Third, spend 100 system points to upgrade the mall. Requires satisfying the first 2 requirements. So, there were upgrade conditions. Zhao Chen's duel with Zhang Haoran before was due to a D-class system mission, so it was considered successfully completed. Zhao Chen now had enough system points for 100. The only requirement not met was exchanging for 8 T1 class item. This brings me back to square one. I still have to exchange for 8 T1 product. Zhao Chen frowned. He thought for a moment, and suddenly a light bulb went off in his head. If he exchanged for 8 T1 starship, he didn't necessarily have to build it himself. He could sell it. Excellent starship technology had always been very popular, but due to its preciousness, few people sold it. Zhao Chen didn't have such concerns. Although direct sales didn't yield as much profit as building and then selling, Zhao Chen didn't have that much time to bother with it now. It was better to just sell it directly and make a quick buck. If I suddenly bring out a T1 starship technology to sell, even though it's the lowest level T1 starship technology, as a student, I'll inevitably attract attention. I need to conceal my identity first. Selling a starship while concealing my identity, and it needs to be simple and hassle-free, Zhao Chen pondered. Suddenly, he thought of someone. Li Wei. Li Wei's family was in the interstellar trade business, with a corporate group called Northern Goose Interstellar Trade Group. It was said that in recent years, they had been expanding into the starship arms trade, but the several starship products they had funded for research and development had not been very successful, with very few orders. When Zhao Chen chatted with Li Wei before, Li Wei casually mentioned that if they still couldn't produce a popular starship product before the end of this year, the Li family might have to give up the starship sales business. Isn't this a ready-made opportunity? Having Li Wei act as an intermediary could also reduce the risk of exposing his identity. Zhao Chen immediately accessed the Academy's network and began to search for information on Li Wei's family's starship trade business. Over the past 5 years, Li Wei's family had launched a total of 6 starships, including both support-type and combat-type starships. But without exception, all of them failed. Either there were significant performance flaws, or the cost-effectiveness was very poor. The worst one sold less than 10 starships before being complained about due to performance defects and halted production, also paying a large sum in compensation. Even the best-selling one only sold less than 100 starships, and it was still a loss-making venture to gain publicity, but it also failed to achieve success. Zhao Chen began to quickly browse and research, looking for the most suitable starship model for Li Wei's family, and then comparing it with the T1 starships in the system mall. The construction difficulty for this one is a bit high. This one won't do. The market scope is too small. Finally, after Zhao Chen's careful selection, he finally chose a T1 starship technology. This is it. Zhao Chen clicked to exchange. Do you want to spend 50 system points and 1 mission point to exchange for the product T1 Wolf Laos Class Medium Interstellar Destroyer? Confirm. Congratulations on obtaining the T1 Wolf Laos-class medium interstellar destroyer technical blueprint. Your remaining system points, 350 points. Zhao Chen's mind jolted, and then a string of starship technical blueprints emerged in his sea of consciousness. This was the T1 Wolf Laos-class medium interstellar destroyer. Don't underestimate this T1 starship. This was carefully selected by Zhao Chen. If he didn't currently have the Blizzard Zero and the T3 Blizzard-class light interstellar battlecruiser technical blueprints, he might even consider building this starship himself. Its advantages were good quality and low price, durable and robust. At this moment, the gentle female voice of the starship system AI sounded. Beep, beep, beep. Captain, someone on the starship's external network is requesting to connect and communicate with you. The system identifies them as your classmate, Li Wei. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Zhao Chen's mouth curved upwards, revealing the expression of a cunning merchant. Little Li, don't blame me for being a demanding negotiator. Even among brothers, accounts must be settled clearly. If this starship is sold to your Li family, it can definitely make your Li family famous in the starship arms trade, especially in the T1 Starship series. Tell him to wait for me outside. I'll be right out. Zhao Chen instructed the AI, and he himself got off the bed, preparing to leave the starship. Before that, he instructed Vice Captain Charlotte to be on standby on the starship. Without his command, no crew member was allowed to leave the Blizzard Zero, nor was anyone allowed to enter the Blizzard Zero. If there was any emergency, she was to contact him immediately. Outside the starship berth, Li Wei was staring with glowing eyes at the colossal steel starship before him. The Blizzard Zero was nearly 260 meters long. Because it adopted the hull of an interstellar battleship, its size was considerable. Looking at the somewhat rusty hull armor and the very dated hull design, Li Wei, however, felt as if he was looking at a majestic starship. It was just a pity that the 1,200 millimeters caliber cannon mounted on it was concealed and couldn't be seen now. At this moment, the starship's hatch opened, and Zhao Chen walked out leisurely. Li Wei quickly stepped forward and immediately put his arm around Zhao Chen's neck. When did you, little brat, put together such a starship? Don't you know? It's just those 3 starships assembled from the Academy exchanges, Zhao Chen said. I mean, when did you get this kind of technology? Li Wei pressed. Zhao Chen shrugged and smiled. While someone was chasing girls, playing games, and relaxing, I was reading books, you know. You were reading starship engineering books all along. Li Wei looked at Zhao Chen suspiciously. The previous Zhao Chen was indeed a very diligent student. At least in theory, he had always been among the top 5 in their Class 8. So, Li Wei didn't doubt Zhao Chen's excuse. He just didn't expect Zhao Chen to have learned to this extent on his own. Big brother, let me go up and take a look, preferably at that 1,200 millimeters caliber cannon. Li Wei blither. It's not impossible, but I need you to do me a favor. Zhao Chen looked at Li Wei, feeling as if he was looking at a big rich man right now. Are you talking about my collection of action romance blockbusters, encompassing 720 races and totaling 10,000 T in size? Li Wei looked at Zhao Chen with a grin, then leaned into his ear and chuckled mischievously. I'll give them all to you. I've also collected a few particularly great films recently. We could discuss them together then. Zhao Chen immediately jumped 3 meters away, looking at Li Wei with disdain. Do I look like that kind of person? Li Wei walked along the starship corridor, looking at the somewhat narrow and dilapidated space, feeling quite disappointed. Are you disappointed? After all, this starship was assembled from 3 starships with nearly 100 years of history. Of course, it can't compare to modern starships in terms of comfort and aesthetics. Zhao Chen clearly understood Li Wei's thoughts. After touring for more than 10 minutes, Li Wei and Zhao Chen left the Blizzard Zero. It's still more comfortable to look at from the outside. But old Zhao, why are all your crew members half-beastmen females? I didn't know you had a preference for that. Although there's nothing wrong with personal preferences, fighting a starship battle is no small matter. Li Wei looked at Zhao Chen, reminding him. Zhao Chen rolled his eyes. I'm not as dirty-minded as you think. There's a reason I recruited these half-beastman female crew members. And they were originally female crew members, but for some reason, they ended up in this situation. You saw the Battle of the Blizzard Zero before, didn't you? Could a bunch of flower vases fight such a beautiful battle? That makes a lot of sense. Oh, by the way, you mentioned earlier that you needed my help with something. What was it? Li Wei brought up Zhao Chen's previous request. Zhao Chen began to get down to business. Your family is involved in interstellar trade, aren't you? I heard that in recent years, you've expanded into starship arms trade. Coincidentally, I have a T1 starship that I developed myself. I'd like to ask you to send these technical blueprints to your family's people to see if they're interested in purchasing them. However, it needs to be done secretly because I don't want too many people to know about me. You understand? Even if your father asks, don't reveal my identity. You want to sell a T1 starship you developed yourself? Li Wei was startled. You could develop starships yourself now? But on second thought, if Zhao Chen could assemble 3 old starships into a starship with explosive combat power, developing a T1 starship wasn't impossible. After all, the technical difficulty of T1 starships isn't very high, and some starship technical blueprints have even been made public for everyone to learn from. I can't interfere with our family's business. I can't guarantee whether we can buy your starship, but I can mention it to my sister. She was the one who proposed expanding into the starship arms trade, and she's also the current head of that business within our group. However, our company isn't very optimistic about this business right now. We've been losing money for 4 consecutive years. Even a T1 starship that was supposed to be launched this year has been delayed indefinitely. The company's board of shareholders has already started to put pressure on us to abandon this business, Li Wei said. Zhao Chen patted Li Wei's shoulder and handed him a thumb-sized storage device. Whether we can reach a cooperation or not, it doesn't matter. As long as this thing can be seen by your family's people, that's enough. Just encrypt and send this data directly to your sister. Remember, keep my identity secret. If your sister asks, just make up any excuse. This contains the T1 starship technical blueprints you mentioned. You're just giving it to me so easily? Is network transmission safe? Do you want me to personally deliver it to my sister? It just so happens that the holidays are coming up in a few days, and I'm planning to go home. I'll tell you the result next semester. Li Wei said cautiously. Although it was just T1 starship blueprint data, it was Zhao Chen's hard work after all. This was considered a trade secret, usually delivered in person, and rarely transmitted over a network. It's fine, I've already encrypted the files inside. When you send it, just let me know, and I'll decrypt it remotely before it can be viewed. You can go back and send it now. I'm in a hurry, Zhao Chen said. Zhao Chen couldn't wait until the end of the semester. His idea was to use the T1 starship technology to obtain a sum of money, and then find a way to build a real system starship. Although the Blizzard Zero was excellent, it was, after all, just an assembled starship. All right then, I'll do as you say, but don't have too high expectations, Li Wei explained to Zhao Chen first, afraid that if Zhao Chen's technical blueprints were rejected by his sister, it would hurt Zhao Chen's pride. His sister's personality, when it came to business, was ruthless. She would never accept anything she wasn't satisfied with. It's fine, just do as I say. You don't need to worry about anything after that, Zhao Chen said with a smile. As long as Li Wei's sister wasn't foolish, she would definitely see the value of this starship. Okay. Li Wei bid farewell to Zhao Chen and returned to his dormitory. He then, as Zhao Chen requested, sent the data from the storage device to his sister. The file size was considerable, and combined with interstar system information transmission, it would take about a day. Li Wei sent a text message to his sister in advance, briefly mentioning the matter. Zhao Chen also returned to his dormitory first. Although he now had a captain's bedroom on the Blizzard Zero, many of his belongings were still in the dormitory, so he needed to move them to the Blizzard Zero first. It just so happened that this semester was ending, so he wouldn't need to book tickets. He could just take the Blizzard Zero back to his territory. The dormitory was a single room, so its space naturally couldn't compare to the captain's bedroom. Zhao Chen sat on a single bed and opened the system page, entering the store upgrade page. T1 system store upgrade conditions. First, exchange 1 T1, level item, completed. Second, complete 1D level system mission, completed. Third, consume 100 system points to upgrade the store. First 2 items completed can be upgraded at any time. Zhao Chen clicked to upgrade the system store without hesitation. Confirm consumption of 100 system points to upgrade T1 store to T2 store. Confirm. Consumed 100 system points. T1 store upgraded to T2 store. Your remaining system points, 250 points. Congratulations. You have unlocked the T2 series of items in the system store. You have received one opportunity to exchange any item without requiring mission points. An unexpected surprise appeared. Originally, Zhao Chen was still wondering how to get more mission points to easily exchange for a T2 starship. After all, the system store stipulated that exchanging items required corresponding mission points. Zhao Chen checked the T2 series of products, and it turned out that 3 mission points were still required. Given Zhao Chen's situation, he didn't know how long it would take to accumulate these 3 mission points. It seemed that the higher the level of the item, not only did it consume more system points, but it also required more mission points. Zhao Chen also took a quick look. To upgrade the T2 store to a T3 store, he would need to complete 2 C-level missions, exchange 2 T2 system items, and consume 2,000 system points, which significantly increased the difficulty. Zhao Chen wasn't capable of considering all that right now. Getting down to business was more important. The business, of course, was choosing a starship. Let me see, which one should we choose for our first true starship? Zhao Chen began to carefully select, even more seriously than before, because this time he was choosing his first starship in the true sense. The Blizzard Zero could only be considered half of the first one. Should it be an interstellar destroyer, or an interstellar cruiser, or perhaps an interstellar battleship? Zhao Chen deliberated. Finally, Zhao Chen's gaze fixed on one option. T2, aircraft carrier starship. That's the one. T2B Queen-class heavy carrier starship. Zhao Chen's eyes lit up. In his previous life, an aircraft carrier was definitely the dream of every person from the Flower Kingdom. In the Interstellar era, aircraft carriers also existed. If one were to say that in this era, among a certain class, what could be called a giant starship, then it would most likely be 2 types of starships: interstellar battleships and aircraft carrier starships. Zhao Chen immediately chose to redeem it. Do you want to consume 250 system points and 1 opportunity to redeem an item without requiring mission points? To redeem the item T2B Queen-class heavy carrier starship. Confirm. Congratulations. You have obtained the T2B Queen-class heavy carrier starship technical blueprint. Your remaining system points, 0 points. Just as planned, Zhao Chen's system points were enough to redeem this T2 carrier starship. At this moment, data about this T2 Queen Bee flooded Zhao Chen's mind. Normally, if an Starfleet had an aircraft carrier starship, it would definitely need a large number of escort starships, unlike an interstellar battleship, which could completely stand on its own. Therefore, the number of aircraft carrier starships in active service was actually far less than interstellar battleships, as building a Starfleet centered around an aircraft carrier starship required an enormous cost. Otherwise, conventionally, a single aircraft carrier starship would be unable to form combat effectiveness. But this T2 Queen Bee was completely different. It possessed the ability to fight independently, which was why Zhao Chen wanted to redeem it. The combat methods of an aircraft carrier starship were mainly divided into 3 types: interstellar fighters, interstellar drones, and small to medium-sized starships. The third situation was rare. Aircraft carrier starships capable of carrying starships were at least T3 level. Otherwise, their size simply wouldn't allow it. Getting back to the main topic, let's first talk about the T2 Queen Bee. This starship adopted interstellar drones as its combat method. Zhao Chen checked the detailed introduction materials. B Queen-class heavy carrier starship. Ship type, aircraft carrier starship. Technology level, T2. Hull armor strength, 300 units, 350 units. Cruising speed, 40 knots per star speed. Warp engine, 4th level warp engine. Length, 460 meters. Mass, 400,000 tons. Crew complement, 100 people. Starship weapons, T-2 Young B-Class Light Interstellar Drone, Interstellar Interceptor, T-2 Killer B-Class Medium Interstellar Drone, Interstellar Fighter, T-2 Bumblebee-Class Heavy Interstellar Drone, Interstellar Bomber. Hangar Standard Configuration can store 300 T-2 Young B-Class Light Interstellar Drones, 100 T-2 Killer B-Class Medium Interstellar Drones, 20 T-2 Bumblebee-Class Heavy Interstellar Drones. Just by looking at its volume and mass, one knew this would be a behemoth. At 460 meters long, it was nearly twice the length of the Blizzard Zero. At 400,000 tons, its mass was nearly 5 times that of the Blizzard Zero. It could carry 3 types of interstellar drones, totaling 420. Under normal circumstances, an aircraft carrier starship would only carry one type of interstellar fighter or interstellar drone, because different models would mean requiring different maintenance teams and systems. However, this T-2 Queen Bee was directly equipped with 3 types of interstellar drones. This was not a foolish act, but because this T-2 Queen Bee was equipped with an intelligent system almost on the T-3 Starship level, and under reasonable and efficient management, it could perfectly ensure that these 3 types of interstellar drones would not have any gaps. These 3 types of interstellar drones, categorized by type, were interstellar drone interceptors, interstellar drone fighters, and interstellar drone bombers. Interstellar drone interceptors could be called the close-quarters bodyguards of the aircraft carrier starship, primarily responsible for protecting the aircraft carrier starship's safety and intercepting all enemy attacks. Interstellar drone fighters were the central force for seizing air superiority in interstellar aerial combat, and could also strike enemy starships. Interstellar drone bombers, as the name suggests, possessed bombing capabilities and could carry interstellar missiles, interstellar bombs, or even interstellar torpedoes as needed. Their strike capability against starships was the strongest, but at the same time, their own interstellar aerial combat capability was very weak. Therefore, these 3 types of interstellar drones could cooperate with each other, perfectly forming complementary functions. Under normal conventional circumstances, multiple aircraft carrier starships would complement each other. The T-2 Queen Bee took on all 3 of these tasks itself. And the most important point, which was also the reason it didn't need an escort fleet, it actually possessed the Star Shield function. The Star Shield function was an energy defense shield, a standard feature of T-3 starships, capable of forming an energy shield within an area to intercept enemy weapon attacks from that direction. It was a groundbreaking technology for T-3 starships, greatly increasing the starship's self-defense capabilities. This was also why people often said that T-3 starships were the true starships. Getting back to the main topic, as a T-2 starship, the B-Queen also possessed a Star Shield, which greatly increased its defensive capabilities. Coupled with the T-2 Young B-Class Light Interstellar Drone, it was an integration of offense and defense. Facing a T-3 Starship Starfleet might be risky, but against T-2 starships, it was definitely a terrifying existence. It was not impossible for it to fight many at once. Therefore, Zhao Chen chose this T-2 Queen Bee. The cost is 1.3 million star coins. Zhao, N-O-B-L-I-G-H-D, Chen calculated the cost required to build this starship, and he gasped. One had to know that the total savings of his Zhao family, from top to bottom, did not exceed 100,000 star coins. As for his interstellar territory, due to the barren star system and mismanagement, its annual tax revenue, plus other income, was only 1 million star coins. This was also why Zhang Haoran called him a fallen baron. Zhao Chen couldn't even afford a T-2 Hyena-class medium interstellar destroyer, which cost 4 million star coins. However, if Zhao Chen were to sell this T-2 Queen Bee, it could be worth at least 20 to 30 million star coins. Selling starships was a path to wealth, as the arms business was always highly profitable, no matter the era. But currently, Zhao Chen didn't have that capability, nor the time to consider it. 1.3 million star coins. With the fund from selling the T1 Wolf-Laus-class medium interstellar destroyer, it should be enough to complete the construction of one T2 Queen Bee, Zhao Chen muttered. Now he just had to wait for news from Li Wei. Northern Goose Interstellar Trade Group, headquarters. A board meeting was currently being held here. Besides the Li family members, there were also several other shareholder directors present. For the past 5 years, our Northern Goose has been in the red in the starship arms trade, relying entirely on other industries to cover the losses. It even led to our Northern Goose's overall profit being in the red last year. Therefore, I believe we should abandon the starship arms trade segment. The starship arms trade is not something that can be easily started. The R&D investment is too large, and the risks are too high. It's better to continue honestly with our interstellar trade transport and interstellar industry, a director said, banging on the table. The other directors also agreed, demanding a halt to the starship arms trade business segment. No, our Northern Goose's development has reached a bottleneck. Competition in our original business segments is getting fiercer. If we don't find a breakthrough, Northern Goose will decline sooner or later. To take Northern Goose to the next level, we must seize the starship arms trade. A charming woman with a graceful figure and voluptuous curves stood up and spoke. However, the other directors strongly opposed her. Miss Yaki, this is not for you to decide. Although Northern Goose was founded by your Li family, you and your father only own 45% of the shares now. Everyone else opposes it. This is a resolution of the board of directors. The director with the most shares, besides the Li family, coldly snorted. Li Yaki bit her red lips lightly, saying nothing. The starship arms trade was her dream and her painstaking effort. Others saw it as 5 years of investment, but in reality, Li Yaki had started planning it 10 years ago, and for this, she had dedicated all her time and energy to it. At over 30 years old, she was still unmarried. How could she abandon her painstaking effort? Cough, cough, cough. The middle-aged man, sitting in the main seat, scanned the people present. You are all Yaki's uncles and elders. Yaki's expansion into the interstellar destroyer trade is also for the sake of our Northern Goose. This is considered opening up new territory. Everything is difficult at the beginning, isn't it? When my father started Northern Goose back then, didn't he also overcome the first 10 years to have the current Northern Goose Interstellar Trade Group? This middle-aged man was the chairman of the Northern Goose Interstellar Trade Group, the currently family head, and also Li Wei's father. Chairman, back then was back then, now is now. Now everyone has families to support. We trusted you, the Li family head, which is why we invested all our wealth and lives in a Northern Goose. But now, we're actually operating at a loss. The starship trade investment is a bottomless pit. If we continue like this, our Northern Goose will be ruined sooner or later. The second director snorted coldly. Sticking to old ways, not seeking progress, not daring to step out of the comfort zone. That's what will drag our Northern Goose down. Li Yaki couldn't help but stand up and retort angrily. Hearing Li Yaki speak like this, the directors began to discuss among themselves, accusing Li Yaki of being ignorant, disrespectful, and so on. I said before, girls aren't suited for business. You're almost 40, Yaki. If you had listened to me back then and married that Earl's son, would you still need to work so hard here now? You'd already be a countess enjoying life. The second director said with a light laugh. Enjoying life? Second uncle, I don't want to be a canary in a cage like my cousin. She doesn't even dare to speak up when her husband philanders outside. If that's enjoying life, I, Li Yaki, have no such fortune to enjoy. Li Yaki also retorted without showing any weakness. The second director's face was very ugly. This second director was Li Yaki's second uncle, her father's younger brother. He was the second largest shareholder of the Northern Goose Interstellar Trade Group. All right, how about this? Let's give Yaki a little more time. Didn't we agree on 5 years before? The 5-year period. As long as Yaki's Starship Trade Department can turn a profit within 5 years, it will continue to exist. Isn't there still half a year left? Why is everyone in such a hurry? The Li family head said cheerfully. Then we'll give my niece half a year. By then, second uncle will arrange a good marriage for my niece. The second director snorted coldly and left the conference room. The other directors also left the conference room one after another. The Lee family head looked at his daughter, who was unwilling and resentful, and he sighed deeply. Yaki, it's not that Dad isn't helping you. Doing business is just like this. Everyone only cares about profit. You still have half a year left. Within half a year, as long as your trade department can turn a profit or even just break even, Dad can let your department continue to exist. But if it fails, then so be it. If you still want to do business, you can continue with your previous interstellar transport trade. Half a year? How could it be possible to turn a profit in half a year? She didn't even have a decent starship product in her hands right now. She didn't believe she could turn a profit within half a year. I understand. Dad, I'm a bit tired. I'm going back first. Liyaki murmured and walked out of the conference room. Liyaki threw herself onto the bed in her room, and a fluffy, cat-like pet jumped onto her. Ming Ming, I'm very tired today. You go play by yourself. Liyaki covered her eyes with her arm, trying her best not to let her tears fall. 5 years of preparation, 5 years of effort, more than 10 years of youth. Was it all going to end here? Beep, 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 beep. At this moment, Liyaki's handheld terminal rang, and she glanced at it. It was a communication request from her younger brother. She sat up, adjusted her emotional state, and clicked accept. Sis, why are your eyes red? Li Wei greeted his sister through the video screen. However, due to inter-star system communication, there was a nearly 10-second delay. It's nothing, just been too tired these past few days. Why are you suddenly looking for me? Have you run out of living expenses again? If I remember correctly, won't you be on vacation in a few days? Could it be that you didn't pass your year-end assessment and have to repeat a grade? Liyaki stared at Li Wei. Li Wei pouted. Sis, why do you never wish me well? I still have living expenses, and I'm not repeating a grade. Next year, I'll be a 4th year and can truly pilot a starship. Then why would you, kid, think of contacting me? Liyaki looked suspiciously at her brother, who never sought her out unless he needed something. Li Wei began to talk about serious matters. I sent you a starship blueprint data yesterday. It should have arrived by now. Take a look. It's something my friend made, and he wants to ask if you're interested in buying it. Starship blueprint data? Liyaki stared at her brother again. You didn't incur debt and are trying to fool me here, are you? Sis, why do you always look down on your brother? All right, go take a look yourself. If you're interested, contact me. I'll help you contact that friend. Don't have too high expectations. If it's barely usable, just give a decent price, just to give your little brother some face. Li Wei still didn't believe how good the starship Zhao Chen made could be. So he said some pleasant words. I won't say more for now. Remember to contact me after you've seen it. Li Wei didn't want to talk more with his older sister, who always looked down on him and directly cut off the communication. This kid, where would he find a friend who could design a starship? It sounds like he's just trying to fool me. Liyaki completely disbelieved Li Wei's words. But she sat on the bed, stunned for more than 10 seconds, and then, as if by some strange impulse, she opened her mailbox. Indeed, there was a data file lying there, and the file was already decrypted. Anyway, she had nothing to do right now, and her starship design department had shown no progress, so she might as well look at what Li Wei sent. Liyaki comforted herself, and as she opened the file, she looked at the vast starship blueprint information, and her eyes gradually began to change. From initial indifference to later extreme seriousness, even her breathing quieted considerably. After more than half an hour, she suddenly came back to her senses, raised her hand, and summoned a holographic computer, beginning to simulate some of the data in the file. No problem. No problem. All no problem. This process continued for another 3 hours. Liyaki's expression was extremely rich, and she muttered, T1 Wolf Laos class medium interstellar destroyer. This technical blueprint. She suddenly stood up, quickly copied the starship technology into a data disk, then ran out of the bedroom and rushed to her starship design research department. The journey, which normally took an hour, she completed in just 10 minutes by manually driving a flying car. She didn't even bother to change into a researcher's uniform, rushing directly into the research department, standing in front of her team of researchers and engineers, pointing at the data disk. Quickly help me see if this starship blueprint technology is feasible. Liyaki was uncontrollably excited. Within 5 hours, I want a reliable feasibility report. No, I want it within 3 hours. Over the course of 3 hours, the researchers in the entire laboratory went from initial confusion to shock, and then pleasant surprise. Chief Engineer Lee, where did you get this starship technology from? Although it's only 80% of the data, with important starship technical information redacted, this starship technology is absolutely feasible. Moreover, this T-1 Wolf Laos-class medium interstellar destroyer has an extremely high-cost performance. I never imagined a starship with such a low construction cost could have such high performance. If this were put on the market, it would definitely be a very hot-selling starship product. The chief engineer of the laboratory, an elderly man with a full head of white hair, excitedly stood in front of Liyaki. Liyaki held the data disk. It was like a treasure in her eyes now. If she had previously fallen into an abyss, this data disk was a rope dropped from heaven. You all cancel all your current research tasks and conduct in-depth research on this starship technology. Liyaki handed the data disk to the chief engineer. Chief Engineer Lee, where exactly did this starship technology come from? Before the elderly chief engineer could finish asking, Liyaki had already run out of the laboratory. Liyaki sat in her flying car and immediately began to contact her younger brother. First attempt, hung up. Liyaki was puzzled. Second attempt, hung up again. Liyaki felt a little uneasy. Third attempt, still hung up. But this time, Li Wei replied with a text message. Sis, I'm taking a shower. Can we talk after I'm done? A few dark lines appeared on Liyaki's face. She gritted her teeth and replied with a message. If you don't want to die, pick up immediately. If you dare to hang up again, the day you Li Wei, come home will be your Memorial Day next year. Liyaki sent a fourth communication request again. This time, it wasn't hung up directly. After waiting for about half a minute, the other side finally connected. Li Wei appeared wrapped in a bath towel, looking like he had rushed out of the shower. Sis, what's wrong? Why are you in such a hurry? Li Wei had a resentful expression, as if he had been interrupted from something important. Who gave you that starship technical blueprint? Liyaki asked directly. Oh, you mean that one? It's Li Bei Baoja. He remembered Zhao Chen's instructions. He coughed and said, Sis, my friend is quite low-key and it's not convenient to reveal his identity. Just tell me, how is that starship technology? Do you want it or not? If not, I'll give my friend an answer. You can't even tell your sister? Liyaki stared at her younger brother, then enticingly said, As long as you tell me his identity, I'll triple your living expenses for next semester. Li Wei paused, and after an internal struggle, he still firmly said, No, I promised him. Besides, sis, think about it. What if he finds out I leaked his identity, gets angry, and doesn't want to talk to you? Thinking of this, Liyaki also felt it made sense and could only suppress her curiosity. She thought it might be a work from a certain starship engineering mentor at the North Star Starship Military Academy. Then please help me contact this gentleman. I am very interested in his starship technology. Can we arrange a time to talk in person? Liyaki asked. Huh, you're interested? Li Wei was a little surprised. Didn't you look at the content inside? I didn't. I'm not like you, sis. I'm not from the Starship Engineering Department, so I wouldn't understand it even if I looked at it. Li Wei waved his hand. His older sister, Liyaki, graduated from the Starship Engineering Department, so she was very interested in starship research and manufacturing. Plus, she came from a family involved in starship trade. Combining these, she wanted to engage in the starship arms trade business. Hurry up and go. As soon as there's news, never mind, don't hang up on your end. I'll wait for your news here, Liyaki urged. Without obtaining the authorization for that starship technology, she felt her mind would not be at peace for a moment. This was her only lifeline now. Under Liyaki's urging, Li Wei went to contact Zhao Chen. About 10 minutes later, Li Wei reappeared in the video communication window. Sis, my friend said. There's no need for an in-person discussion. If you have an idea, just enter this online room to talk. After speaking, Li Wei sent a link to Li Yaqi. Talk in an online room, Li Yaqi was a little surprised. Such an important matter was only going to be discussed in such an environment. Never mind, the top priority was to acquire this starship technology. I understand. Li Yaqi clicked the room link, and soon a new window appeared in front of her. It wasn't a video communication, but a text chat. Li Yaqi took a deep breath. She sent the first message. Hello, I am Li Wei's older sister, Li Yaqi, the head of the Starship Arms Trade Department of Northern Goose Interstellar Trade Group. After the message was sent, half a minute passed. Finally, there was a reply. Hello. The simple 2 words made Li Yaqi feel a lump in her throat. It was her first time discussing business in such an environment. I am very interested in your T1 Wolf Laos-class medium interstellar destroyer technology. I hope we can arrange a time to discuss a cooperation plan in detail. There's no need to arrange time. If you are sure you want this starship technology, just name a price. If I'm satisfied, you transfer the money, and I'll send you the complete T1 Wolf fleet technical data. Li Yaqi was greatly surprised again. So straightforward, quoting a price. At this moment, Li Yaqi was a bit unsure how much to quote, because this development caught her off guard. She was completely unprepared, and this was completely different from her previous business model. The other party was not playing by the rules. She thought for a moment and sent a message. What price do you think is suitable? The other side was silent for a few minutes, then sent a number. 3 million star coins. 3 million star coins? Isn't this authorization fee a bit too expensive? After all, this was just a T1 starship, and its market price was at most 20 to 30,000 star coins. At this point, the other party sent 2 more words. Buyout. Seeing these 2 words, Li Yaqi's heart suddenly jumped. Are you sure it's 3 million star coins for a buyout of this starship technology? Li Yaqi immediately sent a message to inquire. Buyout meant that once this money was paid, this starship technology would belong to Li Yaqi forever. And before, Li Yaqi had only asked for authorization. Yes, do you agree to this price? Li Yaqi saw these words and immediately sent 2 words. Agree. Zhao Chen, on the other side of the communication window, stared blankly at these 2 words. He clutched his chest and said remorsefully, Damn it, I quoted too low a price. Actually, Zhao Chen had wanted to say that there was still room for negotiation on the price. He thought his price was a bit inflated, but he didn't expect Li Yaqi to agree directly. Ultimately, the business deal concluded with Li Yaqi purchasing the T1 Wolf Laos-class medium interstellar destroyer starship technology for 3 million star coins. After the agreement was finalized, Zhao Chen directly sent all the T1 Wolf fleet starship technical data to Li Yaqi. I've sent the starship technical data to your email. Please transfer the 3 million star coins to this account within 3 days of receiving the starship technical data. Below was a Starlight Empire Interstellar Bank card number. Sir, you just sent me the starship technology? Aren't you worried I'll go back on my word? Li Yaqi was very surprised that the other party had done this without any hesitation. Wasn't the other party worried she would default on the payment? This was completely unlike an interstellar transaction. It was more like casually buying something in a supermarket. I trust Li Wei, and if you really dare to do that, I will make you pay 1,000 times the price. All right, I have other matters, so I'll stop here. Happy cooperation. The network room showed that the other party had left. Li Yaqi hurriedly tried to ask how to contact the other party in the future, but there was no response. What a strange person. This must be the most bizarre business deal I've ever made. Li Yaqi still felt like she was dreaming. Moreover, she realized that she didn't even know what to call the other party. Strange person, strange business. But no matter what, as long as she could get all the T1 Wolf fleet technical data, she was confident that within half a year, she could turn the Starship Arms trade from loss to profit. She would make those who were waiting to see her fail drop their jaws. Zhao Chen, on the other hand, felt a little pained. I should have quoted 4 million. Zhao Chen said with a bitter smile. He was still too inexperienced in business. To be honest, his 3 million star coins buyout price was already relatively high for for T1 starship technology. It just so happened that Li Yaqi was in dire need of starship technology. A thirsty person who gets a bottle of water will naturally overlook a somewhat expensive price. 3 million. 3 million. Zhao Chen was now planning to build his second starship, which was the T2B Queen-class heavy carrier starship. Building a starship required a lot of preparation. It wasn't as simple as assembling a starship. Raw materials, construction site, construction technology, and so on. There were too many things. Beep, beep, beep. Zhao Chen's handheld terminal rang. He saw that it was his younger sister, Zhao Wanner. Oh, the young miss actually contacted me out of the blue. Zhao Chen looked at Zhao Wanner on the video window and said teasingly. Zhao Wanner rarely sought out Zhao Chen, and usually when she did, it was in private, face-to-face. At this moment, Zhao Chen noticed that behind Zhao Wanner were two beautiful women, no? It should be two beautiful women, one older and one younger. Stop babbling, my friends are here. Zhao Wanner gave Zhao Chen a roll of her eyes. Then Zhao Wanner moved aside and introduced the two beautiful women. This is Senior Su Lan from the 5th year. This is my classmate, Xue Xiao from the 4th year. I don't need to introduce this one, do I? My brother. When she said the words, my brother, Zhao Wanner clearly showed a look of disdain. Hello. We often hear Wanna mention you. Senior Su Lan greeted him politely. She mentions me? Forget it. It's good enough if she doesn't badmouth me. Zhao Chen shrugged. Brother Zhao Chen, can I see your big cannon? The twin-tailed, lowly Xue Xiao suddenly leaned forward, her eyes sparkling, and spoke. Zhao Chen was stunned. This remark was a bit too. Zhao Wanner immediately pulled Xue Xiao back. Xiao, what are you saying? What's wrong? I just want to see brother Zhao Chen's Blizzard Zero's 1,200 millimeters heavy cannon up close. Xue Xiao pouted and spoke. Senior Su Lan, you must have something to tell me, right? Just get straight to the point. Zhao Chen changed the subject. This little lowly's words really made one. Senior Su Lan said, then let's get straight to the point. Actually, the reason I'm looking for you this time is because of yesterday's starship duel. Zhao Chen narrowed his eyes, saying nothing, waiting for Senior Su Lan to continue. Senior Su Lan continued. It was Zhang Haoran who found people and connections, and someone knew that I was familiar with your sister Zhao Wanner, so they came to me. They hope you can cancel Zhang Haoran's expulsion punishment. Actually, when Senior Su Lan mentioned the starship duel, he knew it was about Zhang Haoran. Zhang Haoran would definitely not obediently withdraw from the North Star Starship Military Academy. This concerned his future. This expulsion punishment is registered in the starship duel. Can it be canceled? Zhao Chen asked curiously. Senior Su Lan said, according to the Academy's regulations, the stakes in a starship duel are recognized and will be enforced by the Academy. However, if the winning party is willing to cancel the punishment stake, then the losing party can be exempt from punishment. So, it requires your nod of approval. Zhao Chen said nothing. Senior Su Lan continued. It's a friend of mine who asked me to do this. I owed him a favor before. If you're unwilling, then just pretend I didn't say anything. If you're willing to talk, I can help you arrange a time and place for you to sit down and talk. You can propose the conditions you want. After all, we can't let you cancel the punishment for nothing. Can I have a private word with my younger sister? Zhao Chen said. Senior Su Lan agreed, and she and Xue Xiao left. All right, Senior Su Lan and Xue Xiao are gone. Say whatever you want to say. Zhao Wanner crossed her arms. Do you want me to help Senior Su Lan? Zhao Chen asked. Zhao Wanner was stunned. This is your business. Why are you asking me? My younger sister rarely asks me for favors. I guess Senior Su Lan has a very good relationship with you, right? Zhao Chen smiled as he looked at Zhao Wanner. Zhao Wanner's cheeks flushed, and she honestly said, I admit, I really like Senior Su Lan. After I came to the North Star Starship Military Academy, she took great care of me. She is one of my only two friends here, the other being Xue Xiao. I also know about Senior Su Lan's situation. The person who asked her for a favor is a 5th-year senior named Han Tianwang. He helped Senior Su Lan with something before, And ever since then, he's been using that as an excuse to pester Senior Sulan, and even wants Senior Sulan to date him. Senior Sulan doesn't like him, but because she owes him a favor, she can only endure his harassment. If she can repay his favor this time, then Senior Sulan won't have to endure his harassment anymore. Zhao Chen nodded. He said, "All right then. You tell Senior Sulan to handle this matter. Send me the time and place tonight." I agree to talk. Really? Zhao Wanner was surprised. Who told you this is my younger sister's first time asking me for a favor? Zhao Chen grinned. Zhao Wanner rolled her eyes. Who asked you? You can help or not help. After speaking, she hung up the communication. Zhao Chen thought about Zhang Haoren's matter. Actually, whether Zhang Haoren was expelled or not was not important to him. He had never cared about this background character or his relationship with Jiang Shasha. If it weren't for the system mission, he would never have proposed the starship duel. Now there was such an opportunity to help Zhao Wanner Sr., and at the same time, he could also extort money. How could Zhao Chen miss such a good opportunity? The corners of his mouth gradually turned up. There would be a good show to watch tomorrow. North Star Starship Military Academy, Ocean-style restaurant. Zhao Chen looked at the holographic images of aquatic creatures from an unknown star system, freely swimming in front of him. The entire restaurant had a very serene atmosphere. There were only a few dozen people dining in total. It was considered a relatively high-end restaurant in North Star. Only those from noble backgrounds would come here to eat, and it was said that half of the ingredients used were naturally grown produce. The three beautiful ladies walking beside Zhao Chen brought him an extremely high return rate. Junior Zhao Chen, have you decided what conditions you'll offer Zhang Haoren later? Senior Su Lan inquired. I have it figured out, Zhao Chen said with a smile. Seeing this, Senior Su Lan didn't say much, as her role was merely that of an intermediary. As for whether this matter succeeded or failed, she didn't care much. She was only stepping in to bridge the connection because she owed that person a favor. Lan, over here. A voice came, and from a distance, Zhao Chen could see a pale-faced young man sitting at a round table by the window, waving to Su Lan and her group. Three people were already seated around the round table. One of them was Zhang Haoren, and the other was a new face. Zhang Haoren's expression was clearly not good. His gaze briefly met Zhao Chen's, but he quickly looked away, appearing pitiful. Yet, Zhao Chen still keenly sensed Zhang Haoren's hatred. For such a fellow, one lesson wouldn't make him behave. Later, whatever thoughts you have, just say them. If we can't agree, we'll leave. Don't worry about us, Senior Su Lan whispered into Zhao Chen's ear. Zhao Chen nodded. Zhao Wanner, following beside him, was a bit reserved. She looked at her elder brother with some worry. Although her elder brother was a territorial baron, he had never been exposed to such a formal occasion. Xue Xiao, on the other hand, looked expectant. She loved such troublemaking occasions the most. As Zhao Chen and the others approached their seats, Senior Han Tianwang ignored Zhao Chen, who was supposed to be the protagonist of this negotiation, and instead directly pulled out the already empty seat beside him. Lan, come sit here. The entire round table only had 7 seats. This precisely corresponded to Han Tianwang's 3 people and Zhao Chen's 4 people. And Han Tianwang had specifically left a seat beside him, which seemed to be specially reserved for Su Lan. But Su Lan merely glanced at it, then smiled and greeted Han Tianwang. It's fine, I can sit over here. With that, she sat down with Zhao Wanner and Xue Xiao. This made Han Tianwang a bit awkward. And now, the only place Zhao Chen could sit was the seat next to Han Tianwang. It was then that Han Tianwang looked at the person in front of him and said indifferently, "This must be Junior Zhao Chen, please have a seat." Although he said, "Please have a seat," Han Tianwang had already taken his own seat. At this point, the only one who hadn't sat down yet was Zhao Chen. But Zhao Chen didn't walk towards a seat next to Han Tianwang. Instead, he placed his hand on a chair in front of him. "No need, I can sit here." In that instant, the atmosphere in the room began to change, because Zhao Chen's hand was resting exactly on the chair Zhang Haoren was sitting on. Zhang Haoren's face was grim. He looked at Senior Han Tianwang, whose gaze shifted away. Seeing this, Zhang Haoran could only stand up with a dark expression, preparing to sit in the seat next to Han Tianwang. Zhao Chen sat in Zhang Haoran's chair. When he saw Zhang Haoran about to sit down, he directly picked up a glass of water and spilled it on that chair. "Is there a seat for you here?" The atmosphere once again neared freezing point. Zhang Haoran clenched his fists. "Junior Zhao Chen, don't be so aggressive. Actually, it was just a misunderstanding between Junior Haoran and you before. Now that we're gathered to eat, let's just clear up this misunderstanding, and we can all be friends from now on." Han Tianwang stepped in as a peacemaker at this moment. "Lan Lan, don't you agree?" Su Lan smiled. "We're just accompanying guests this time and won't speak. Everything depends on Junior Zhao Chen's own wishes. If he has a seat here today, then I, Zhao Chen, don't have a seat. Senior, what do you think?" Zhao Chen directly met Han Tianwang's gaze, showing no weakness. A hint of gloom flashed in Han Tianwang's eyes, but he still said cheerfully, "Indeed, an apology should look like an apology. Haoran, just stand. Waiter, please remove this extra chair," Zhao Chen called out to a waiter. The waiters here were not intelligent robots, but rather beautiful young female attendants, reflecting the high-end nature of the restaurant. The chair was removed, and Zhang Haoran stood like a pillar, positioned between Zhao Chen and Han Tianwang. "We're all sitting, and you're the only one standing. Does this mean you're superior to me and the seniors? That makes us very uncomfortable." Zhao Chen looked at Zhang Haoran with a smile. Zhang Haoran gritted his teeth. "You, what else do you want?" "Kneel." Zhao Chen casually uttered 3 words. The expressions of the few people present changed. Zhang Haoran was enraged. "Zhao Chen, don't go too far." "Too far? I heard you and your little brothers were shouting in my class earlier, saying that if you defeated me in a starship duel, you make me kneel and apologize to you? At that time, you didn't think it was too much." Zhao Chen looked at Zhang Haoran with a smile. "Or is it that our young master Zhang disdains continuing his studies at North Star?" Zhao Chen's final jab directly struck Zhang Haoran's heart. He absolutely could not drop out of North Star. His Viscount father, the future Earl, had more than just him as a son. North Star was one of the 3 best starship military academies in the Starlight Empire, and his father had managed to pull strings to get him in. If he couldn't even graduate from North Star, his title might be snatched by his other brothers. His mother, upon learning of this matter, immediately sent a message, telling him to figure it out himself, and under no circumstances to drop out of North Star. "Junior Zhao Chen, there's no need for this, is there? Junior Haoran already knows his mistake. We are all classmates. There's no need to make the relationship so tense. Give me some face. Let's eat first and discuss how to resolve this misunderstanding between you and Junior Haoran while we eat. I will definitely give you a satisfactory answer." Han Tianwang spoke up. "Face." Zhao Chen chuckled. His eyes narrowed as he looked at Han Tianwang. "Senior means I give you face, and you kneel for him?" Zhao Wanner beside him gasped, wondering what was going on with her elder brother. Had he eaten gunpowder today? It was one thing to provoke Zhang Haoran, but he was even provoking Han Tianwang. Senior Sulan and the twin-tailed Shui Xiao Xiao looked at Zhao Chen in surprise. They found that this junior seemed truly a bit different. Han Tianwang's face darkened at this moment. "Fine, I'll kneel." Zhang Haoran roared out 3 words, kneeling in the spot where the chair had originally been. The height of the table perfectly blocked his head. "This is perfect. It doesn't hinder our meal. Why are you all looking at me? Aren't we here to eat? Hurry up and order. I'm starving." "Senior Han, what do you like to eat? Just order whatever you want. Don't be shy." Zhao Chen directly raised his hand and opened the holographic ordering page. Then, with the fastest hand speed, he randomly pressed on it. Zhao Wanner, who was sitting next to Zhao Chen, didn't even clearly see what Zhao Chen had ordered. "I've ordered. See if you need anything else. Don't be shy. It's not often we get to have a meal with Senior Han, so let's enjoy it," Zhao Chen said with a smile, looking at everyone. Shui Xiao Xiao almost couldn't help but burst out laughing.